It's a sunny day in Saskatoon. Still frigid, but sunny. And that's a little bit better than yesterday. Welcome to the Nutana Curling Club. I'm Brian Chick here with Matt Hall. You are tuned in for the Canadian Under-18 Curling Championships, and we are in for a matchup today between Alberta 2 and British Columbia on the boys' side. Matt, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. Well, speaking of the weather, I was looking at the forecast. Should be heating up a little bit towards the weekend, just the same as the curling that's going on here inside as teams try to jockey for position with only a few more days remaining. Coming up, most of these teams on their fourth match, trying to get themselves into a solid playoff position.
We are still in that strange situation of some teams have yet to arrive and will be starting their round robin tomorrow just because of travel delays caused by weather and that plane crash in Toronto. So some teams, the East Coast teams from PEI and Nova Scotia, some of them still aren't here. So while these guys are playing their fourth game, others will get started tomorrow.
It's going to make the standings really interesting. I mean, you could be looking like you're in a really good spot and you just have to sit back and watch as those teams catch up, play all their games, and fill in the standings. But focus should be on your own work and making sure you try to win your own games out there so that none of that matters.
So leading things off for British Columbia is Brendan Bruchak. And Alberta 2 will have hammer based on the pre-game draw to the button.
And I think this should be a good matchup here, Brian. Both of these provinces, storied histories of producing good curling teams at all age groups and men's and women's, so I think they should match up pretty well.
This Alberta 2 team is 1-1 in their first two games. British Columbia is 0-2, so they're looking for their first win here. Nice tight center guard right off the bat.
With the schedule changes and the playoff changes, I believe they've slightly reduced the field that moves on to the playoff round. It used to be 12 teams, if I'm correct, and now it's 10. I might have that wrong. It feels like it changes every day.
It has changed a few times, and honestly, I haven't looked that far ahead. I've been trying to deal with the draws as they come one by one, and I think the schedule has been finalized. I just haven't seen the latest version.
Either way, regardless of what it ends up being, you'd imagine that 3 loss is sort of that cliff's edge that you don't want to fall down to, especially too early.
So Hugo Chow plays a come around, slides a little bit deep, but fully buried.
A few feet more. Right, your last one was tight, not much sweeping. Yeah.
This is the B pool in the men's event. Right now, Manitoba 1 and Quebec 2 are both undefeated at 3-0 and 2-0, respectively. So this Alberta team with 1 loss, definitely still in the mix, but the BC hoping to avoid a third.
Back 8.
Stay close, help. Okay, whoa. Okay.
Even with the extra carving there, can't quite get it over to the rocking back 4. Just a little extra weight there, ran a bit straighter. You will see that on this surface.
Yeah, my team had the opportunity to practice on this ice a couple days before the event after they'd prepped it and got it all ready, and that was one of the things that we found that, you know, you think usually, especially in a curling club, you throw a pound extra weight, you might get away with it, you still find some curl. Not necessarily here. Even a foot extra weight than what you're looking for, the rock runs almost abnormally straighter or a little bit straighter than you expect it to. So really need to make sure that your weight control is as precise as possible in order to get those rocks in good spots.
Hard, you got it. Right to here, boys, right to here. Hard, guys, hard, boys. You got it, right behind the guard.
Nice example of rock management there. Knew they had to go, but wanted to wait till the line improved, and you saw it walk right over from the hog line in. Lots of late curl here if you throw the right weight.
Yeah, when you... I've been watching a few of the games, and it seems like when you're taking a draw, you're taking maybe middle of the 12 for ice. And by the time it gets close to the far hog line, it looks like it's still out there, and then it just swoops over.
Curl. Okay, good shot. Good. See if that gets on, Brendan.
It's fine.
That was second Noah Wheelgoss. Probably not saying that right, but it's my best guess.
Right here.
Playing second for Alberta is
Yeah,
Matthew
no,
Reiniger.
Just a 4. If you're 3, that's fine, though.
Looking for a guard to cover those 2 in the rings.
Yeah, 2-3, I think it's good.
And as a team with the hammer, sometimes you find yourself in this situation where you call a center guard and you know you cringe a little bit because you're taught, especially year after year, and especially as you're learning the sport, with hammer you play to the wings, without the hammer you play to the center. But sometimes you got to look at the situation and say, well, I don't really want to throw a center guard, but what else are you going to do? You have such a great setup in the middle. I'd be surprised if the other team tried to throw a freeze down. This one's going to slip a little bit in. But sometimes if you can't find anything else that's reasonable, that is the call.
Yeah, a little deeper than they would have liked. The guard was the call. I guess the only other option there is maybe draw wide out to the edge of the 12 and try to spread your reds out. Neither one is wrong, but I agree with you. Sometimes you know what you're supposed to do and it just doesn't fit the situation.
Well, yeah, well, especially as you age up and teams become, you know, stronger, you want to give as few chances at making doubles and getting out of the end as possible. This one looks like it's going to make contact with both, but we'll just stick right there. But sometimes you'll delay coming into the rings just to avoid giving too many chances to your opposition to make a double or a few doubles to get out of it.
Yeah, as you said, the higher your level goes, the more automatic those short doubles become. Even at the junior level or once you get into the men's and ladies, it's you know, they're going to make that 9 times out of 10. At the U-18, it's not automatic quite yet.
Yeah, and that other 10% of the time at the higher level, they're going to get something good out of it, even if they don't make the shot. Just the tolerance is so close.
Preston.
Too late.
Okay, that's all right.
So that one over curls a little bit, but not the worst result. Kind of frees up the backing, gets rid of the red wall behind that one yellow. So should be easier to get the yellow on the next one. But again, BC taking on that double.
Yeah, and this one is a little bit tricky. You have plenty of room past that yellow one, but it is always in your eyesight as you're throwing, and sometimes you can let a rock get away from you, send it out a little bit.
Spencer Rempel, maybe a little bit tight on this one. Well, trying to cross the face of the yellow.
Bring up. Okay.
Didn't quite get there. You know, you mentioned it, maybe that rock doesn't necessarily influence the shot, but it just makes it look harder. And sometimes that's enough.
10-5. Let me just see where you got to hit it.
Well, yeah, and I was suggesting, you know, they might miss it the other way. I'm, you know, guilty of that sometimes too. You know that it's a nose hit. You do have a little bit of extra wiggle room, so you don't have to necessarily be any more precise. But just that one's in your eyesight, so you send it out a little bit with the release. I think most of the misses in that situation would be wide. That one getting away from him a little bit on the inside.
Yeah, it looked like that Spencer there just maybe got it started a little bit with the intern. Now it's Preston Russell trying to get rid of the yellow.
Hard, Matthew, hard. You're really close. Hard, Matthew.
Trying to avoid the jam. Gets the yellow to go, but takes a red with it. So a little good news, bad news, but they'll take it.
Well, that's an all right way to miss it, for sure. It was makeable to sit 3, but it was a fairly precise shot. Losing 1 of your reds is still okay. You're still in a great spot here. Spencer's going to have to come up with a double to get them out of trouble.
Similar to what he just threw, but this one was a much cleaner release.
Hard, girl. Hard.
Yep.
Hard. Reach the rock. Okay.
Just needed to curl up another inch to get the double. Red will sit shot at the back of the house there.
You know 9-5 out here.
Okay. 9-5.
It should track here.
It's slip.
Nose is fine.
Yeah, I like nose. Don't push it for a long roll. Okay. 9-5.
Preston Russell with his second, looking for a nose hit. Just trying to hang on to the edge of the rings.
Hard, Matthew. Whoa.
We'll roll all the way across, change up the look a little bit.
Yeah, you're good.
And what I like about the discussion there, Brian, is they did bring the weight up a little bit. Sometimes you'll see, especially with these younger teams, you know, in the first end, the ice just isn't worked in all the different paths. So sometimes if you're not quite in a path that you know, it's a little bit fresher. You throw what you think might be a 10-second hit, and it comes down to 11 over curls, and you get a miss. I like that they talked about it before throwing. Bring the weight up just a little bit until they're sure about that spot on the ice, and held the line that little bit extra, which allowed them to stick around.
Rolled to a pretty good spot, too. There's really no double or no easy double on these two. It's either a very thin in-off or a very thin slash, and both of them are quite difficult. So it looks like they're just going to try to play a little hit and roll to try to flop their shooter over in front of the back red. Owen Jagger, or Jagger, I'm sorry, I don't know which one it is, so we'll call him Jagger.
Hard! Whoa! Whoa! Curl! Curl! Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
Got the hit and the flop. Rolls just a little farther than he would have liked, but pretty good attempt. It's not a gimme to get that out of there.
Oh, and even if you do, how do you not leave a double? Great by Owen there to group those stones. Looks like you could probably make in a perfect world, you could hit and roll to the other side of the rings, try to keep your red stones as even as possible, but if I had to guess, you know, probably 80% of the time there's going to be a feasible double for BC after this stone.
You don't think it's too much?
Yeah, the roll you're talking about is playing with fire a little bit, because you got to basically hang it off the back of the 12-foot. If you roll 2 feet too far, then you're going out the back door.
Actually, if you can get the big roll to the 12-foot, that's awesome.
That's what they're going for.
They don't have enough weight for that, so just a 10-5 should be good.
Yeah, as much as it's a makeable double, you want to make sure you force your opposition to make it.
Double tuck in.
Rolling out would just give them an easy chance to escape this end.
So Austin Henning with his first of the first.
You go.
See what kind of weight they chose here. I'm going to get a time.
Oh.
Stay close, guys. It's starting to curl.
Hard Matthew! Hard Matthew! Hard Matthew! Whoa, just took off on
We don't always have the best angle from our commentary booth, but that one, we're right behind the sheet, and I could see that one really snapped about halfway down, and they were a little late picking it up.
Yeah, but 2/3 of the way down, I could see that they were pretty much on nose of the rock, and looks like they just weren't anticipating that last little bit of curl. And that's something that if you want to be successful, especially in a championship like this, on ice where there's lots of curl, you can't sit back and wait for the rock to get to the line that you want it to be on. You have to anticipate that amount of curl, communicate with your sweepers so you know what the weight is, so you know how much it's going to curl, get them on it before you, even before you think it's going to start moving.
Yeah, you do have the opportunity in your pregame practices and your pre-competition practice to try to really identify where that break point is with each particular weight. And if you're throwing a normal weight hit, you know that it's going to curl roughly around the same time, and you have to anticipate that, get the brooms down ahead of time if that's
really hard.
That's what you're looking for. So,
Hard right to it.
Jagger once again trying to hit and stick, trying to curl it over, just scrapes by, no dice. So a draw to the paint for 2 coming up for Austin Heddig.
Okay, guys.
Change the turn up on that one, going inside out.
Nice and easy. This path is still running pretty much the same.
Well, I mean, there could be a couple reasons for that. It could be maybe somebody on the team threw that in practice. Whatever the reasoning may be, I was a bit surprised to see, especially since he just threw the in-turn on his first one. But something about that path, he seemed to like the out-turn is a little bit better. I have seen a little bit of a pattern where there's just that little bit less curl center line out towards the wing. So maybe just got caught on that, taking a little bit extra ice. But a good chance for 2 here to start the game for Team Alberta.
Austin would have just thrown a couple of these about 10 minutes ago in his pregame practice to win that hammer, so you think he's got a pretty good idea what draw weight might be.
Just make sure it's here.
Sweepers seem to like it.
Make sure it's in, boys. Hard. Just make sure it's in.
Help him, Amigo.
Make sure it's in. Hard,
You got it.
boys.
Hard,
Hard.
guys. Hard, boys. You got it.
Yeah, you're good.
Any piece of the rings is good enough, and right into the top of the 8.
Okay.
2 points on the board for Alberta 2. That is a 2-0 lead after 1. We'll be back in a minute.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
The Canadian curling trials. The thing we cried for, fought for, thrown 1,000 rocks for. The podium, just out of reach. But we can almost taste the gold medals in our teeth. Defiant, we take down giants. With nothing but the stones in our hands. And in the stands, they wait and see who among us will earn the right to wear the maple leaf.
Two points on the board for the Alberta squad, playing out of the Saville Community Sports Center in Edmonton. A lovely facility, a rather famous one too. Most of the Edmonton curlers seem to play out of the Saville these days.
If it's tight, just leave it tight.
We're just biting.
Yeah, I feel like I remember growing up watching the Brier and the Scotties, and it was like every team that came out of Saskatchewan was from the Nutana Curling Club, and every team out of Alberta was from somewhere around the
Great
Saville.
sweep, guys. That was a 16-26.
Okay.
Nose.
But a big start there for Alberta, putting 2 on the board at the start. Gives them a very big advantage in this game. My team was fortunate enough to play in a couple of the Grand Slams this year, actually, and we were keeping a couple stats and taking a look at some of the data. And not to say that this applies down to this level at all, but a team that got the hammer and scored first only lost about, less than a handful of times over the course of multiple events. And if you scored 2, you almost always won. Not to say that the game's over, or that those stats are going to perfectly translate down to the U-18 level, but it goes to show that, how important the hammer has become nowadays in our sport, starting with the hammer, and especially if you can put a multiple point end together in the first, really sets you up well for the rest of the game coming up.
And you see a lot of teams now actually really focusing that on really nailing that pregame practice and that shootout. We want to be as good as possible, putting that rock on the button every time, because the hammer is so important. And if you can get good at winning the hammer, that already puts you in an advantage for the rest of the game.
I'll watch it.
Well, when you think about it at the top level, starting a game with hammer is probably between 60 and 65%, depending on if you're looking at men's or women's. At the top level, over the course of an entire event, like, say, the Scotties that are on right now, 8 games, those extra percentage points, that's almost a full extra win when you look at over the course of a whole round robin. And that could be the difference between, a playoff spot or not, or having hammer in the playoffs or not. So it all sort of builds upon itself.
Yeah, those, not only having the hammer, but also just ranking yourself a little bit higher in those tiebreaker scenarios,
Exactly.
especially at Grand Slams and more and more in the Curling Canada events as well.
Right to finish.
I remember at the Sochi Olympics in 2014, there was the team from China put every draw to the button on the pin.
Wow.
Their average was 0 because they missed one, which was like 10 centimeters or something, and they throw out your lowest score. So his average draw to the button for the entire week was 0.0.
Wow. Well, you can't get much better than that.
Now, that doesn't necessarily translate to winning games, but they put themselves in the best position to start the game anyway.
Yeah, but I think if I remember correctly from that Olympics, that team ended up making the playoffs
I think
too.
I think they finished fourth.
Finished fourth, which would have been a very good, very successful event for the Chinese at that event, and I'm sure those draws helped them quite a bit along the way.
I think we were taking the same ice for normal.
Playing quite a bit, playing the first few stones at the end into the rings here. Thought we might see a corner guard go up by BC. Still plenty of game left, but especially in only an 8-end game, you don't want to waste too many of these chances to toss up a guard and really try and get yourself back into it.
Yeah, you do see a lot of these wide open ends, just hit after hit after hit, usually in the early ends of those 10-end games, but as you said, these are only 8 ends, so not a lot of extra time to waste, but sometimes if you don't get it set up, then you just kind of scrap the end and try to do it the next time.
Preston, hard for the roll. Hard for the roll, hard for the roll. Keep going, all the way. Hard for the roll, hard for the roll. Okay, all good. 9:38.
As with every other draw, we've got 7 games going on across the Nutana here, and the sheet 1 side is also filled with stands, so there's a lot of noise out there. Critical that you find a way to communicate through all that ruckus.
Yeah, I popped by the club yesterday to just to spectate, watch a couple of the games, and I spent some time out there on the stands on sheet 1, and there's a guy a couple seats over. I think he had an air horn or something, and he was, I think I figured out eventually he was cheering for somebody over on sheet 5 or sheet 6. I could never quite figure it out, but I mean, it would be kind of wild being on, you know, our feature sheet here over on this side of the club and hearing an air horn go off during your delivery. It's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing to learn to do that and learn to be able to sort of black out everything else that's going on around you, but can certainly be distracting.
Any of the players I've talked to have all really liked the atmosphere. There's a buzz when there's a crowd out there and there's cowbells and horns and people cheering. Whether it's for you or against you, it definitely raises the excitement level.
Oh, that's always the best part of these national events, is just having sort of an entourage with you. Every shot, whether it's, even if it's an easy one, getting a couple of those cheers can really keep your confidence up, keep the energy high, really give you that little bit of an extra boost that you need.
I'm grabbing the 8.
Already halfway through the second end. This one's just flying by as we throw open hit after open hit.
Curl, whoa, yep.
Interested to see what kind of weight they choose here, if they're still keeping a little bit up.
Hard, clean. Great shot.
Around 10 seconds, so a little bit less than maybe they were throwing last end, which is good to see.
That's a nice control, curled up a little bit for him.
Just 9-5.
Not 10.
Well, what I'd really like to see, and I think what we'll see out of the teams that do find the success this week, is having that confidence to bring the weight down on a lot of those hits. Bring your sweepers into play with them. Maybe for an end like this, it doesn't necessarily matter as much because it's so wide open, but those teams that are able to successfully control the 12 and a half second hits and bring their sweepers into it to, you know, maybe make a little hack weight hit and roll behind a guard. Those are the kinds of shots that are really going to lead you to success.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we're talking about anticipating that curl, because if you are taking that much weight off, that curl is going to be that much more aggressive. You have to have the brooms down a little bit quicker.
Oh, this turn.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, gotta wait.
So after a bunch of hits, we will get a draw from Spencer Rempel.
Good.
Wait all day.
Hair up even.
Line's great.
Take a
cut.
look.
Whole team rocking the pink mitts. It's a
Picture,
look.
guys, yep.
Curl. Yep.
Line's great, yep.
Yep.
Hard, guys.
Gotta go.
Hard, guys.
Hard, boys.
Great shot.
Good scrub there from the BC boys. Didn't think it was going to make it that far, but
Oh, no, it was a very good sweep. I thought we were going to see a guard go up, but
Yep, 9-5.
again, I have heard from a couple people there's good sweeping ice too. You feel like you can really make a difference and drag a rock
Try and roll the wings.
quite an
If he
extra
knows it,
way.
that's fine.
well, that's really all you could ever ask for out of a championship event like this, to have ice where you feel like you can make a difference. I know I've played in many a curling club over the years, and there's been a few out there where you just feel like you give it 110% end to end to maybe get an extra foot out of a rock, and it can be pretty demoralizing as a sweeper. But when you're playing on something that's this slick, this quick, it really gives you the confidence in order to make anything.
Hard, Matthew.
Reniger trying to push it over, make it curl. They make contact, but will lose the shooter. So looks like we'll see another draw coming up.
I gave right here.
All right.
Same as those?
Yeah, slow down, Swig.
Yeah.
And those kinds of shots can sometimes seem a little bit innocuous, especially in an end like this where, yes, you rolled out. It's probably not going to affect the final outcome of the end. We're still heading all towards a blank, but they can be fairly important. Giving these free chances to your opponent to throw a few draws, get their draw weight underneath them, build up their own confidence. That's something that can come back and burn you later in an end. If say Owen needs to throw this draw maybe a couple ends from now against 2 or 3, he's had this free opportunity to get his draw weight, and he'll be a lot closer than maybe if you were able to stick around on your hits and force him to continue to play these
Wait,
hits.
hold it.
Maybe you get a better chance at him missing a
Come
draw
on,
later
guys.
in the game.
Line's great.
Yeah, line's good.
Wait, hold it.
One of my
Clean it.
favorite coaching
Make sure.
cliches is if you make all the easy ones, you don't have to throw too
Yeah,
many
let's get
hard
it
ones.
going.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is just a chance to practice those easy
Yep.
ones.
Hard, guys.
All the way.
It's the old Wayne Madaw
Good,
school
right
of
there.
curling.
Roll.
Just
Clean.
draw the 8-foot and hit and stick. If you can do that all the time, you're going to be a pretty good curler.
Same thing.
It's the Colleen Jones philosophy too. We're gonna hit up and down the ice, and you're gonna miss before I do. I take my 2, and that's the game.
We're trying to get the roll. Stealth for 10-5. Tighten it up a hair. I'll throw 10. Tighten it up a touch more. 10. I'll tighten it up a touch more. Yeah.
Looking for a 10-second hit. That's nice control, little firm control that we were just talking about.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for, I think. Once it really gets worked in and confident, then you can bring it down to maybe 10.5, 11. But for now, this should be good.
Clean. Curl. Whoa, clean. Clean. Curl.
Curl hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew.
This one getting out a
Get
little
her over,
bit
get her
wide
over, get her
again.
over.
For now,
Hard,
it's
Matthew.
hard,
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 Matthew. Hard,
hard.
Matthew.
10.3, so pretty close to the weight he was trying to throw. Just got it a hair wide on, a little pokey on the release maybe.
Yeah, I saw just a little bit of backwards motion as he was letting go of the stone, and there's definitely nothing wrong with that if you're doing it consistently and you're brooming with that in mind. But especially on this ice, especially with how straight the hits track, you really need to make sure you're as consistent as possible with those deliveries. But we have a blank coming here in 2.
Yeah, well, this is about the easiest one you can throw all day, so Owen's going to take it and fire it through. So that will be 0s on the board in the second end. Alberta still leads by 2. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
One of the things that someone once told me was you never know when you're going to get back, and you always want to make sure to focus on the competition, of course, because that's what you're there for, but you always want to be able to enjoy the opportunity and what's in front of you. So it'll very quickly, I don't find it difficult to get focused on the ice. I'm usually quite in a bubble, and I don't really know what's going on the other sheets or around me. So on my side of things, that's not a big problem. But yeah, just making sure you find that balance, because there are so many neat things that are going on outside of just the ice, from the telethon to the youth programming. We've got future stars with us. There's just so many things that are exciting, and we want to be part of it all and experience it all.
A blank on the board in the second means the score still 2-0 for Alberta 2. Getting underway in the third. Hugo Chow waiting to start us off.
What you've been throwing has been close to
Tight
a
center.
tight
If you
guard.
slip in, that's fine.
Let's not slip in.
Let's go inside. I want to see how it's running.
I think we need less.
I agree. We don't want to see the same end play out one more time. Make sure you get some guards up here.
Yeah, and at some point you want to put a little pressure on the other team, and just giving them the hits back and forth is really not doing anybody any favors. So you throw that tight guard and get a little more in play, force the action a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if your team Alberta, you slipping into the rings isn't as bad as maybe necessarily BC. With a 2-point deficit, BC is going to be the team that has to push the envelope at some point. So this one will slip in, and that's not the end of the world. We'll see if they decide to hit it or not.
They look like they're going to ignore it this time, so we will see a corner guard go up.
Even if you were inclined to hit rocks that were in the rings, that's not really a stone that should be too much of an issue to you. If you're Owen Yeager, you would think that you should have the confidence to outdraw that at the end of the end.
Well, yeah, some teams will actually have a policy that say if that rock's in the top of the 4-foot, we'll hit it. But if it's anywhere else, we'll throw the corner.
Make sure, guys. No, weight's good. Weight's good.
Mine's curls we can. No way in. No way in.
Yeah.
Yep. Hard, guys. Gotta get it over, yep. Hard, guys. Great to finish. Great to finish.
Pretty good corner guard from the looks of it.
Real nice.
Good one.
From Brendan Hrushak.
No.
Yeah, that's my thought. Just tap it here.
Okay.
It should be close. And then, you like this ice? Just like back 4-way.
Yeah.
I think the typical error on this one is overthrowing it. You really don't have to add too much extra weight to make the tap.
Well, and tapping that rock to the back of the rings isn't really doing you any benefit either. It's just a rock that BC would be able to freeze down onto. Looks like this one is a little bit heavy. It's not going to curl up.
1401. And yeah, just a
And you know, sometimes you do look at that shot and you want to make it perfect. You want to make that nice tap right to the top of the button. But understanding that, hey, even if you just tap that to bite the 8-foot or, you know, just full 8, that's something that the other team is going to have to deal with and eventually pull play away from that corner guard, which is the whole reason you're doing it to begin with. So just having those tolerances in mind, making sure you're always on, if you're going to miss a shot, miss it in the right way, get something out of it. That's what's really going to separate the teams that are maybe just out of a playoff spot to the teams that get in. And if you can even be that much more consistent, the teams that are going to be around at the end of the week.
One of my other coaching cliches. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be good. You can leave there's a lot of good ways to miss that shot. But trying to be perfect and missing it is going to lead to bad misses more often. Alberta chasing behind the corner. Not a call that I think I'd be inclined to make, but they're going to try to follow it down.
Hard, Preston. Hard to get around the guard, Preston. Hard, Preston. Hard. You're really close.
He's holding this really well.
Great scrub there.
Finish, then you go finish. You go finish. Okay, and it's Bill. Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. That's on me. Just in here, it was back 12.
Well, you know, you can't really blame the skip too much on that when you hear him taking the responsibility which is good. But I'm sitting right behind that line. That rock did look like it was moving, but we've seen that it just doesn't want to quite go off the line that way. It's going to hit a point eventually where it straightens out, almost like it starts backing up a little bit. And we saw a little bit of that there.
That one definitely had a little less rotation too. It was pretty soft rotation, which usually means those dive a lot more aggressively. So the fact that they got by the guard in general was impressive. But then, like you said, it straightened out.
Yeah, and I mean, it was, you know, just through backline, a little bit more weight than they wanted, sure, but it's not like he got by the guard by a ton, and it just never made that last little finish that they needed.
I'll give you a hair more ice.
Also did need to hit it hard, so a little bit, yeah.
Trying it again, slightly different line, having to cross the center this time.
Okay.
Line's good. You goes rock.
No, it's close.
You goes rock. Back far. Hard you
sure?
go. Hard you go.
No, me.
You go finish. You go
Line's
finish.
looking pretty good on this one. Need it to settle down.
Looks like it's a little heavy once again. There's two examples of maybe the better misses on the light side there. Don't gain anything by firing it through. I know obviously nobody's trying to do that, but that's about learning those tolerances like you're talking about.
Well, I heard before that last call by Austin, they decided to play the draw to chase the yellow around the corner, and I heard the comment by him that said, you know, we have plenty of time to bail.
Waist good.
You know, as you get older, you start to realize you never really have as much time as you think you do, especially when it comes to bailing out of an end. And a miss like that, if they can get this one buried, yellow's looking very good for minimum 2 or maybe more.
And again, when you throw the right weight, it does hook in there. And there's a prime example. That one's almost totally lost back there. You can only see a quarter or less.
Run it all.
I wasn't. Huh? I didn't realize it was up. When you said, okay, yeah, that's all right. I think.
Now this run back needs to be that little bit extra precise. Keep an eye on that redstone top of the 12-foot. If you ever run it by, you're going to be pretty close to stuffing another yellow in there.
Having a coach's interaction here.
I can see about a half.
Christopher Power coming out for Alberta.
That's what I'm thinking.
If we throw both the presses
That's, you're talking to Tyler Jagger, is the BC coach.
The other option is we can come wide here. Just
There's
come in.
Christopher Power.
Like that's very doable.
You can see enough of that rock there. Even if you punch the second one over, then you've got a lot more room there, and you can still come in onto that, right?
I'm just concerned if we do that now, we're going to wind up looking at a big end. Where if we slash that across, we start to open
I'm
up.
gonna go
Right.
down.
So when you're doing your rip, what do you want to do?
I want to send it across the face, so that 3 comes back. We can maybe catch the 4, and then that 8 spills to the middle.
What about running it just straight back?
Then we leave some guards.
Well, but then you're going after that middle one there, right?
We can get around the outside with hack.
You can do that. I want to open this up. I want to have something to see it.
Sounds good. Yep.
Just, do you like middle of the rock?
Austin's got his mind made up. He wants to throw the quad yellow here. Yellow.
Let's open up first.
Which I think is feasible if you hit it just right.
Yeah, it might be a little bit ambitious, but this is definitely the way I was leaning. You don't want to try, you know, when you're already sort of behind the 8 ball, or you don't want to dig the hole any deeper. You try something a little bit more precise, and if it doesn't go well, then you're in a lot of trouble for the rest of this end. You open this up, more times than not, you're going to give up at most a 2.
Line's good. Whoa. You go.
Trying to hit just a thick half maybe. That's the thin half, and that is trouble.
Remarkable. Yeah. Okay. That's all good.
You like another corner?
If we go
Well, I
here,
hate to say I called it, but I
freeze
did
on
mention
top.
that was a
can we
possibility,
go
something that you
inside?
always have to, and it's something that I didn't hear them
Yeah, I want
mention.
another
And you
corner.
never really
They
want
sit
to,
here, now
you know,
we're
talk
screwed.
about or necessarily converse with your team about, oh, what's going to happen if we miss. But it is important that everyone understands that the the miss there was to be a little bit tight, to, you know, do your best to make contact with that second yellow stone. Now, maybe they did discuss it, and you know, sometimes you just miss the wrong way, but making sure that everyone's on the same page goes a long way.
Small lad.
Spencer Rempel here, just looking to split the house and sit 4, and what a turnaround after just a couple of shots here. That very big number might be on the table for BC.
Right here.
Looks good.
Wait, looks really good, guys. Whoa, whoa. Right here.
Clean it.
That's basically perfect. You couldn't walk it down much better.
You read this, you got 4 moving.
Yeah.
Dead on the nose.
Still pretty sure you can get 4 yellows moving, and I think it might work. Those yellows in the top 12 are pretty close to frozen. Looks like they're going to just dead stuff on that one in the 8 foot, but if it does drag a hair, might be able to get a few yellows moving.
Yeah, looking for pretty close to a nose hit on the guard, and you'll get some granite flying.
Need plenty of weight either way.
Line's good. Hugo. Hard, Hugo. Hard, you go hard.
A little wide, get a piece of it. Hey, better than it was.
That's good.
No, that's fantastic. Gets rid of few yellows and, more importantly, opens things up. No more guards in place. You're going to have a couple more cracks at making another double. If you can get out of this end with only giving up 2, you're going to be a happy camper.
Yeah, that's a great result. Wasn't quite the way they called it, but getting rid of 3 of those yellows and kind of bunching the other 2 yellows closer together is a great result.
Wait, old lady.
Small lad. Yeah.
Make sure, guys, look the hair down.
Yep. Real hard. Real hard, boys. Get the bite. Oh, you got it.
This one may not have the legs, but they're going to give it a scrub.
The skipper's coming out to help.
Does need a bite, and there it is.
Well done.
Again, good sweeping ice and good sweeping effort. That rock slid quite a ways farther than it looked like it was going to.
You gotta hit about a half, right?
Yep, I think so. I think it's about a half.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Half rock. What do you want to?
So you make the double on these 2 yellow stones off the one that's just thrown into the one on the center line. If you hit it perfect, I think you might be able to get 3 yellows moving. But, I mean, even if you make a double here, you're going to be very happy with the situation.
Yeah, if you can get 2 of these gone, I agree with you. If you do it just right, you might get that 3rd one. But if you can get 2 for sure and stick around, it's call that a win.
Thin half, probably, yeah. But half probably gets it too. Yeah. I'm throwing 6'5", probably.
6'5", so this is going to be humming with that super peel weight. And playing it inside out, so this is that straighter spot that you were talking about.
You don't want to see a backwards motion with the release here, or you might be in a bit of trouble.
Hard. Hugo. Hard. Oh, goodness.
Hard.
I've thrown it a long time. Okay, sorry, guys.
Well, definitely was that 6.5 weight, maybe even a little bit faster, but
You got the weight from last end.
the little start on the release got it a little past the broom when he let it go. So
Same as last.
I think maybe just a bit of trying to throw it too hard. I mean, I know you want to throw it enough to have a chance to make the triple, but when you try to throw it that little bit extra, you lose a little bit of line, and in that kind of a situation, you want to throw as much as you can without compromising your release or your line of delivery.
Right here's bad.
So there's Coach Tyler coming out for another coach's interaction.
Show Noah where we want it.
You get 1 per end where your clock keeps running, but your coach can get involved for up to 45 seconds, I believe.
So even if it's right there, bring it all the way back.
The trick is here, try to put a rock in a spot where there's no easy double, or preferably no triple either.
Yeah, and I don't really think there is one. I think you're always going to leave a double somewhere, unless you absolutely just hang it on the edge of the 12-foot, and you maybe leave the thin double on the 2 yellows that are already in the rings. I think ideally you want to be even with that high yellow stone in the top of the 8-foot, as far over as you can towards the edge of the rings.
Line's
Big
good.
ad, big ad.
Okay, right
T-line or
here,
deeper towards the edge is pretty good
Hey,
too.
where?
Big
Back out
That
again.
looks like they're agreeing
Where?
with you, just trying to get a
Can't
bite of
be
that
T.
top.
Yeah, bring it back. Yep.
Yep.
Now they're calling for the plan B.
Yes.
Hard, guys.
Hard, bring it back. Hard.
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 Hard, guys.
One sweeper. One.
Make sure it's in.
Nice one.
Believe it or not, that's a pretty good spot. That makes it's either a long double.
Roll behind here and make him play something tough.
I think that's the call.
No, I think that's the play. Because if I miss this, I'm giving him an easy 3. Or this makes, like, if I get to here, that's
I like this.
I like this. It puts the pressure on more.
Okay, I think you want to go 9-5.
Oh, do you think that? I think that's too much ice for 9-5.
Okay, then you want to.
I would go 10-5. Try and get that roll.
I thought they
All we
might
need is
take
the
on
4 and we're shot.
chance at one of the doubles. I actually thought they might take.
Yep, there we
I
go.
don't mind the idea. Yes, you can make the hit and roll behind the center. I thought they might try to make the crosshouse double off of this one into that back stone. And if you happen to hit it a little thick, you have a chance at the hit and roll. But
I think that's still an option. They're going to call for the hit and roll. If it happens to overcurl a little bit, you still maybe have that catcher over there. But I don't disagree that if you want him to make something tough for his third point, as opposed to hitting, and if you ever roll out, then he's going to hit the paint again. But yeah, I'm surprised he's not taking on one of the doubles.
Clean.
Matthew.
Clean. Clean.
Matthew.
Curl.
Matthew.
this one
Matthew,
looks
Matthew,
close.
Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew.
Hard, Matthew.
Hard, Matthew. Gotta go.
Trying to carve it over, get a little roll underneath that guard.
Oh,
And that is pretty good.
I can't ask for much more.
Well managed,
Do you
boys.
like control or do you like normal?
That's a fantastic shot. Just even just calling the line properly on that with that controlled weight is very impressive. Does leave a shot for 3.
Throwing normal.
Just
Nose should
normal.
get 3,
But
but
again,
maybe
this is
not.
way more precise than some of the other shots for 3 would have been. This has to be pretty close to nose or just an inch high, and trying to keep your shooter. But if you roll, if you curl too far either way, if it doesn't curl up enough or over curls, you don't get that backing. So looking for an inch off the nose on the high side.
Curls. Most, yep.
Whoa, hard line.
Yep.
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 Hard line.
Hard. Real hard.
Hard.
Right to it.
Looks close.
Hard.
Real
Lean,
close. I think
lean,
he's got
lean.
it. Bang, bang, right on the beak. There it is. Great shot from Owen Jagger there for 3. They take the lead, 3-2, going into the 4th end. We're almost coming up on halftime. We'll be back right after this.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Two great shots to finish off that end, but one better than the other, I'm afraid. So 3 points on the board for BC. That hit and roll from Alberta was really nice, but then Owen Jagger follows it up with that short run, puts 3 on the board, and now the complexion of the game has changed a little bit.
Yeah, no fault of Austin or Team Alberta on that one. That was a fantastic try. Great hit and roll, but BC does them one better and walks away with a 3. I think you have to really look back at maybe one of the calls earlier in the end, trying to chase around that corner guard. Missed it the wrong way and got themselves into a little bit of trouble where you might have been able to walk up, rip a corner, open things up for you, really reduce the risk. But some unfortunate results there. Ends up in a 3 for BC. Still plenty of game, though. Certainly nothing to... Nobody's out of it at this point.
No, it's still a 1-point game. Alberta with the hammer, so you assume the team with the hammer generally gets their point and usually gets 2, or frequently gets 2. So there's, like you say, a lot of game left. We're coming up on halftime in this 8-end game. First 3 ends flew right by.
I'll take a couple more of those all day. Keep the play moving. Nothing worse than a slow game of curling.
A couple of big numbers on the board as we look across the scoreboard. Nova Scotia is up, stole 5 on Northwest Territories. They're up 7-0 now. So if you want any scores or schedules or results, you can check out curling.ca/scoreboard. And I believe that will include the newly modified and yet redone once more time schedule for the rest of this event.
I was going to say maybe make sure to check it twice or 3 times. As the schedule has already been adjusted quite a few times this week, I'm sure, with the teams coming in late.
It has been a living, breathing document, depending on when you thought people were going to arrive and whether their flights were delayed. And the rumor is that all the teams will arrive tonight, so the schedule will be locked in as of this evening. But I think we've got the most final version we can hope for at the moment.
Well, I do not envy the jobs of anyone at Curling Canada this week, having to modify all that, making sure everyone gets their games in through the week. It seems like at this point nobody will actually lose out. Everyone will still play all the games they were meant to, which is quite impressive in and of itself.
Yeah, big props to Robin Maddie, the event manager, who has been pulling her hair out over this for the last 2 days, trying to get everybody's games in. Really, she's focused on making sure that every player has the chance to compete in the Nationals, that they don't have to forfeit games or miss games because of bad travel luck.
Right.
So it's through no fault of their own. They're showing up late, and the schedule has been adjusted, and big props to all the other teams, too, for just rolling with it. They're not playing the schedule they were assigned either, because so many of these games have moved around. So everybody understands the situation. Everybody's been really accommodating, and it's been a nice show of sportsmanship across the board.
Well, I mean, yeah, especially at this age group. I mean, everybody, or most of the teams that come here have one goal in mind, and that's to hopefully come out on top at the end. But just getting that experience to wear your provincial crest, your provincial colors, have the opportunity to play at a national championship. It's something you don't forget for the rest of your life. So really important and great on them to make sure that everyone's going to get that chance.
Yeah, I think it would be there. I guess, yeah.
Yeah, and again, going back to coaching, you always try to plan as much as you can, prepare. We're going to have this game at this time. We're going to eat at this time. We're going to do this at this time. And then no matter how great your schedule was at the beginning of the week, you can throw it out and start over. It's good. It's nice to have a plan, but it's also very important you're able to adapt to changing situations. So the kids are learning that lesson for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing. With a lot of teams I've talked to or worked with, especially coming up to events like this, some of the advice that I've always given them is, depending on the person, you might like having a schedule more than others. I've been around some players that, like to have every minute of their week planned out. That one just sailing by, a little bit unfortunate, but you know, I've played with some players that like having every minute of the week planned out, and I've played with some people that, you know, if you try to give them a schedule, they won't adhere to it, you know, as much as they can. But I think it's important to remain flexible in an event like this. One thing I've always told teams is, no matter what happens, every day something is going to happen that you don't expect or go against the plan. So you always have to remain flexible and have that mindset that whatever happens, you need to show up to the game ready to play, ready to give it your all, and be the best you can be.
I believe it was Mike Tyson who said everybody's got a great plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And then you have to learn to adapt and adjust. So a plan is nice, but being flexible and responsive is another one. So
Curl if we can. Can't be deep.
BC putting the pressure on here in the fourth end. They got the center up, and they are drawing to sit 3.
Hard, weight only. Hard.
Yeah, I want to make sure this stays above the tee line.
Go, 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 go. Straight sweep, guys. Good shot. Nice one.
Great spot for that stone. Alberta's going to be in quite a bit of pressure here. Got to get that Yellowstone out of the forefoot. Give yourself some room to score.
I'll give you this.
How much can you?
Looks like are they playing the tap here, Brian?
I think they're a little freeze tap. Surprised they're not running that guard back.
Hair less.
Whoa, Hugo. Hugo. Hard you go, hard you go. Hard you go.
Hard you go.
Hard you go.
Back line.
A little more weight than they wanted, I think, here, so it's running quite a bit straighter. Going to play it into the backing.
Hard. You got it. You got it. Get this one. That's nice. That works.
Not a bad result, all things considered, but they really do have to deal with that those 2 yellows on the center line. The guard is causing the problems, and obviously that one on the button is shrinking that scoring area quite a bit.
Yeah, got as much of that shot as they could, but didn't really solve the issue that they were trying to.
Light's okay.
Short's okay. If I had a nickel every time I said that, I would be rich.
Whoa, it's gas.
That's my abs. I should have it on a T-shirt because every shot I call, short's okay. Short's okay.
Close. Oh. Yep, hard line. Hard.
If they sneak this by, it could be really good. A little tap.
No.
Oh, just a little extra weight opens it up just that little bit.
My fault.
Little room for Alberta to negotiate there now.
How much can you see this?
Like, little less than half.
A little less than half? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Important to get these Yellowstones out of the forefoot. Would love to keep your shooter around, but you don't want to try to be too precise with this. Just even if you jam it into that other Yellowstone in the back of the forefoot, move it, get rid of one of them, and give yourself a lot more space to score with your last. Right now, you're not really thinking about 2. There's still the possibility, but you just want to make sure that you always come out of this end without a steal.
Right.
Matthew, early, hard, Matthew.
1's okay, 2's a bonus at this point, but yeah, you really want to avoid giving BC another point here.
Hard, Matthew, keep on it. Hard, Matthew, stay on
And this is not a bad miss if they can roll the shooter out of the way.
Hard, Matthew.
Keep an eye on that other red.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's all good.
Not ideal, not what they were looking for, but it does open things up, and now we've seen throwing guards on this ice because it's so much curl is actually difficult to be precise with getting that guard to stop in the right spot.
We can always curl.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially at this level, I don't think ever removing the guard is necessarily the wrong choice. Force the other team to put it back. They'll make a good handful of them, but you'll see quite a few misses as well throughout the week.
Hey.
Yeah.
Where?
And it's tough to take away everything too. You always have a chance at that short double in the forefoot, or just go to the backing on the other side of the forefoot. So you can't really take away both options. This one looks like it may over curl just a little bit. And now that double is a little more accessible.
And get rid of the both Steves. I think you throw 10-5.
I can see all of it.
10-5 still good. We want to stick around.
Can we?
Unless you throw 9-5 to get the bigger roll. Yeah, 9-5.
10-5? Or not 9-5?
I like the idea of controlling your weight here. Really important that you get close to making the double. It would be nice to roll your shooter behind the corner and sit too, but even a half roll is still more than enough, I would think.
Yeah, if you could spin those yellows off the forefoot, it really gives you a lot better chance to score. Has to come up a little bit. We'll get them moving. It's just a matter how far that second yellow is going to go, and it stuffs.
903.
Does push it out a little bit, so it looks like you can see
I mean,
maybe just about a half rock, just less than that. So it is accessible for Alberta later.
I love it then.
and if we're a guard here,
Yeah.
I think a guard would
If you're heavy, you go to
pretty
that
much
one.
take away that yellow, though, and leave BC in a fairly
Yeah, and if you're light,
enviable
just guard
spot.
it, right?
so right there's center line, but we can always curl it.
Okay, same as LSD.
Yeah.
Looks like they want to come down too. This is definitely isn't a wrong call. It's the more aggressive option for sure. If you can, weld this in the top of the forefoot, top the button on the corner of that Yellowstone that's already there, really takes away a lot of the scoring area for Alberta.
Yeah, if you can get half buried on either side of that guard,
Same way as the whole game.
it's makes it really difficult to get a red in there for a point.
I have to go a bit. Yep.
Hard for line.
Yep. Hard, guys. Hard, guys. Line's great.
Line's good.
Hard, guys.
Hard. Hard
Really
for
hard.
line. Hard.
Hard, guys. Hard.
Just trying to squeak it by, and what a scrub. The line's good now. Oh, it got a rub off the back of it.
Just off the backside of that stone. Still ends up in a very good spot.
That was a millimeter away from perfect, and even so, it's very good. They are a second shot. They are mostly buried, and now Alberta forced to play a wide kind of come around, maybe tap freeze on that yellow rock in the forefoot.
Yeah. Do we have an interaction?
No.
Okay.
Okay, you got it. Just draw it in, try and get a piece of the button.
This is a big shot, though. This one
Freeze it.
pretty much needs to be made. There aren't too many other spots where this rock could stop that you imagine you're going to have a good chance to score afterwards.
Yeah, it just has to come around from the left side as we're looking at it. Try to get right up to the nose of that rock just beside the button, and either weld it on the inside or tap it an inch or two. Just you have to be shot here.
Kind of what I would expect on the other side, and then you guys bring it there.
Line's close.
Fire up, guys. Felt like back.
Matthews rock. Matthews rock. Gotta be there. Where are we? Okay, gotta curl then. Gotta curl.
Help him, Matthew. Help him, Matthew.
Gotta curl.
Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew. Hard,
Starting to
Matthew.
curl now. It's working its way over.
Yeah, this is going sideways. They need to be careful.
Hard.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, that's all right.
Wow, pretty good result there. That
Barely even used the backing at all. That's surprising.
Like, we're gonna tap it in
that one
inch.
threw the
Yeah, if you-
left turn signal
Exactly.
on at the
That's
hog
not
line
bad,
and
'cause,
headed for Albuquerque.
like, I don't want to run this or something. Just right here. Just tap it
Yeah,
a
I
few
mean, now
inches.
that's open now. So they're going to draw in this way if we miss it.
What turn do we like
That was
throwing? We got lots of
potentially a
time.
game saver right
Yeah.
there.
Wow.
I like
Yeah,
throwing
that
this
doesn't
turn. I
get in
just
there.
threw it.
It's,
Yeah.
you're in a lot
Even
of
if we're
trouble
here,
there.
They knows that we're still shot above.
Listening to see what their plan
Or like
is.
here.
What do you mean? We're just trying to freeze.
So I know you're saying you just threw this draw. Well, he just threw that draw, right? So I like guarding that side and let him make this draw. He's got to draw the 1 foot.
You don't like drawing here?
How much closer are you going to get than that one?
I mean, I think you can tap it an inch.
Yeah, if you tap it an inch, your shot.
But I'm totally fine with throwing the guard.
You can tap it an inch in your shot?
Yeah.
If you want to go after it, I'm okay with that. It's either that or we throw the guard over here and make him make that draw.
I like trying this.
Okay,
like,
that's
I just
fine.
threw it. I really know the weight good.
I think if we miss, we give them 2.
I was a little bit on the side of Coach Tyler Yeager there.
Yeah, a little bit more. We always think throw.
Yeah, I like it.
I get what BC's thinking. You can come down to this red and get a little bit of a better angle, even tap it back and be shot, but that is so precise. And if you don't make it, you leave Alberta the exact same draw for 2. If you draw it with the out turn, or even just guard that side, you force Alberta to make a draw to the button. And with where that corner guard is, just out of screen up on the right, there's not a lot of room with how much curl we're seeing to fit a draw through between the guard and the rock that is top of the 8 foot to score your 2 points.
The one thing I would have loved to hear from Coach there is just remind him of the tolerance there. Short's okay on this one.
Yes.
If you don't have to be frozen, if you can be anywhere on that path and make that draw difficult or impossible, your mission is still accomplished here.
Hard, get it hard. Really hard.
How about a little tap split on the top 8?
That would be pretty good, as long as you don't roll too far.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was just a lot of weight for that attempt.
Yeah, and a little bit, I like what you're saying, a little bit more talk about the tolerance would have been nice. Even on the line, we're sitting right behind them here, and as that rock is coming down about halfway down, I was pretty sure that it wasn't going to get by that rock in the top 8 foot, but even if it did, it was going to have too much weight to give you what you really needed. If the sweepers are communicating that and you know what the tolerance is, you call them off, 10 feet earlier, you chunk a good piece of that rock top 8, and you can sort of take away both draws in that case.
Yeah, I think that was just that, like I said, that little bit of tolerance and again, audible on the fly. If you're not getting result A, how can we get the most out of this shot? And I think you're right. If they let that get off it a bit sooner, let that chunk a little bit thicker, you probably take away both shots and you've got your force. As it stands, Alberta will have another crack at that draw.
Yeah. We'll see if this one puts the blinker on.
Yeah. Weight seems a little better on this one, and it will walk right over.
Hard, Matthew.
Just carve if you can.
Curl, Matthew. Hard, Matthew.
Line's looking good.
Get it in there.
Have to move the yellow just a bit to score, and they will.
Good.
Well,
2 nice shots there from Alberta's Austin Hennig. They put 2 on the board and will take the lead into the 4th and break. We're going to take about 5 minutes, reset, and we'll be back with the second half right after this.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You can throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
The Canadian Curling Trials. The thing we cried for, fought for, don't 1,000 rocks for? The podium, just out of reach. But we can almost taste the gold medals in our teeth. Defiant, we take down giants with nothing but the stones in our hands. And in the stands, they wait and see who among us will earn the right to wear the maple leaf.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
It was probably the most unique, beautiful, rewarding curling experience I've ever had. Having the opportunity to work in USG with the Cree Nation of Chisasibi, with Rhonda Spencer, with Roy Niacapo, just the entire community really came together, supported. We did something really tremendous, introducing a sport to a community that hasn't really had curling all that much, but there's a lot of very passionate curling fans. Radisson was a place where there's a curling club many years ago, and they haven't seen it in the region since. So we put a lot of time and effort and resources and told our stories, brought together all the Indigenous curlers, and empowered each and every one of us to share time with youth and community members.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You can throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Welcome back to the new Tana Curling Club in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. You're tuning in for the second half of this matchup between Alberta 2 and BC here at the Canadian Under-18 Curling Championships. I'm Brian Chick here with Matt Hall.
Well, we've seen a little bit of everything, I would say, in the first half of that one. Few ends, you get the 2 for Alberta to start. BC cracks back with that big run back for 3 in the third, and that last end looked like it could have gone anybody's way. Just a few missed chances on either side, but at the end of the day, Alberta comes out of it with a 2 in the lead again. I think we're in for a fun second half.
Yeah, that last deuce kind of came out of nowhere. 2 absolutely perfect draws from Austin Hennig, and the skips deuce on the board. Alberta takes the lead by a single point going into the 5th. And here we are underway. Looks like they're going right into the house with this one.
Good throw, Hugo.
Well, we've seen so far this game, Alberta preferring to, or whether they preferred it or not, they have gone into the rings with the hammer, or sorry, with the lead, excuse me. BC choosing to hit this one. Thought we might see the corner guard go up. This isn't a rock that is necessarily especially dangerous to you this early in the end.
No, the fact that it's behind the tee line is really makes it immediately less threatening, and actually might be a little bit more useful to you at some point if it ever came to that.
Clean, yep.
But they are playing the hit. This one looks well executed, right up to the nose.
Nice.
9-5. Or do you like 10? Yeah, 10-5.
Just 10-5.
On the side of BC too, though, blank not necessarily the worst in this situation. 5th end, if you blank this one, you think theoretically you have 2 hammers to your opponent's 1 going into the last 3 ends, so definitely wouldn't be the worst outcome.
If you ever blank here and you're able to score your deuce in the 6th, then you're in really good shape.
We'll see if they continue this hit game here. Sometimes you'll see teams just wait 1 and then toss up the corner guard, but looks like going straight to the hit. So barring any big miss here, Brian, looks like we're heading to a fairly clean end.
Brendan Hershak looking for another beaker right on the nose.
Hard curl. Hard for stick.
Gonna make contact. Is he gonna stick around?
Great shot.
Yeah, just a little roll to the wing.
Nice one.
Just here to here.
Good roll.
Yeah.
Out here,
Oh, yeah, that's good here.
Okay.
Give me a little less.
9-5.
Whoa. Okay, hard, you go, you're good. Hard to get the roll. Hard to get the roll. Okay, it's all good. Just nose. 10-16.
Do like that Alberta. Actually, both teams are pretty much communicating the times, what their expectation is, also what was the actual result of those hog-to-hog takeout times. They're all looking for that 10.5, nice control weight most of the time.
Especially in a clean end like this, it can be really easy just to sort of shut the brain off and go through the motions. Both teams fairly aware that we're heading towards a blank here, but every rock can give you something to learn from, whether it's the line or how the line reacts to a certain weight. You get all that information, you put it together, could help you make an extra shot or 2 in the last 3 ends.
And one of the things that we, again, go and put my coaching hat back on is just routine. Do it the same way every time, whether it's the easiest shot or the hard shot. Talk it through the same way. Make sure you kind of tick off all the boxes on your checklist, and just constantly communicating and comparing your expectations to the results. And that's the way you're going to learn and make those fine-tune adjustments.
Hard you go. Hard for the roll. Hard any roll. No good. 10-28. A little down.
Same thing. Control up.
Curl. Whoa, clean. Whoa.
All these teams, of course, hoping to call themselves Canadian champions at the end of the week, but the U-18s has been, the development of the U-18s has been a great sort of feeder system up through the ranks. I think, you know, when U-18 started, it would have been right after I aged out, so probably close to, I think we're coming up on probably close to a decade, maybe a few more years. But we are just starting to see those former U-18 champions making their way up to the adult level, starting to make waves. Not entirely familiar with the event, but if I remember correctly, Jay Corgan was a former winner of this event in one of the first years. We've seen him at the Briar a couple times for Northern Ontario. I'm sure there's a few other names, definitely a few that we've seen go on to do well at the U21 level as well. Mila Plett from Alberta has solidified herself in that regard. But I think it's just a great way to give kids of this age the experience of playing in a national championship, playing with that pressure. And I think as we go forward, we're going to see more and more of those names start to show up at, your Canadian and World Juniors, your Briar, your Scotties.
Yeah, and you mentioned Mila Plett obviously won this event, also won the Canadian Juniors, also is now very successful at the university level. And the other thing that we're seeing a lot more of is those young teams playing in the U25 events. So sometimes you get some junior teams, some university teams, and some young adult teams all playing against each other at the U25 level. And that's really helping bridge that gap from those maybe who did or didn't play in a university program, but getting into the competitive ranks of men and women. And some of these teams, these U18, former 18 winners or junior winners, are now really taking that U25 level pretty seriously.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to play for a university program for a couple of years, and that was certainly beneficial. The U25s now, I did play in one U25 national championship just before I got too old for that. But I think it's a great, the development path now is so much cleaner, so much more well-built than it was even, say, 5-6 years ago. I remember when I was first coming out of juniors, you sort of just got dropped into the men's game and, told to figure it out. And you see a lot of really, really good young players, banging their head against the wall for years and years coming out of juniors till they finally figured it out. Now having that development pathway that's more clear, more built into the system, just allows you to scale up your successes that much easier moving forward.
We talked about it yesterday a little bit too, but the fact that there are more than one rep from each province, or from several provinces and territories, where just because there's one good team in that province, a second team will still have an opportunity to play at a national or to represent their province or territory. So as we said, there's 21 teams on the men's side, 21 teams on the women's side. Obviously, there's only 10 provinces and 3 territories, so a lot of them are represented twice. And that just gives more young curlers from those provinces the opportunity. And sometimes we see 2 of those teams in the playoffs too. Like last year, I think both Alberta teams or Manitoba teams were both in the playoffs on the men's side.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen some of those, quote unquote number 2 teams out of the province. We've seen them win events like this before. A few years ago, I believe Jacques Gauthier out of Manitoba won the Canadian Juniors as Manitoba too. And, it wasn't that long ago where, he lost that final. He wouldn't have had the chance to play in that national championship. And they went on to the Worlds and represented us very well and have gone on to build very good careers for themselves after that. And you start to think, well, what if they didn't play in that national or get the chance to win and go to a world championship? How much more, stunted would their careers have been? I'm sure, great curlers regardless, they would have done quite well for themselves, but it's always that little bit of a what if. So getting that more experience, you'll never know what would have happened if it wasn't there, but they've been doing pretty well for themselves so far.
Well, not a whole lot of excitement in this end, but fairly well executed. One rollout, but followed up by a made draw, so we're right back where we thought we would be.
Curl! Whoa, whoa, whoa! Yep, curl! Curl! Clean! Clean! Curl! Curl! Clean! Clean! Clean!
Yeah, that's what I was. Do you like a 9.5 or an 8.5?
Okay, 9.5.
Yeah, it's a 9.5. Just nose. Okay. What was that? Little roll either way is fine. Just want to stick around. Make him throw the blank.
Austin Headink with his first here in the, or second, excuse me, here in the fifth.
Really would like to stick around here, and it looks like he will. He rolled out on last time we played this version of the end. He rolled out, so Owen was able to just fire it through. But now actually Owen has to make the shot.
Just trying to roll out here.
Easy shot, but it's always a little bit tricky as a skip, especially you played the entire end out for this one moment. Definitely something I'd imagine he's close for. But I remember even when I used to skip in juniors, there is always just a little bit of pressure on these shots.
I joke with a buddy at my club. It's like we call this a junior force, because every now and then somebody's just going to nose this peel, and you know we'll get a cheap force out of it. But Owen looking just to hit and roll out.
Clean.
Nice easy weight. I'm actually impressed that he didn't whip it.
Clean. Curl.
He seemed to like it. I'd love to see a little bit of curl, but I think he's going to be okay.
No fuss, no muss. Clean slate on the board in the fifth. Alberta clinging to that one stone lead. We'll be back with the sixth end. BC has hammer right after this break.
The Canadian curling trials. The thing we cried for, fought for, thrown 1,000 rocks for. The podium, just out of reach. But we can almost taste the gold medals in our teeth. Defiant, we take down giants with nothing but the stones in our hands. And in the stands, they wait and see who among us will earn the right to wear the maple leaf.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
No points on the board in the fifth end, so we'll turn around and play the sixth. Scoreboard remains the same, 4-3 for Alberta. Alberta number 2, that is, over British Columbia. And starting with a draw into the house. This one slides a little bit deep, and I imagine BC's going to ignore it this time and throw the corner.
Yeah, as we mentioned sort of at the start of last end, blank and 5, both teams are pretty happy with. If you're Alberta, you have the lead, so taking away ends from your opponents are always good. If you're BC, you get the blank. You now have theoretically hammer in 6 and 8, so 2 hammers to 1. So even with that 1 point deficit, it's anybody's game right now.
Yeah, this is where that scoreboard management and trying to hold serve really comes into play. Because if you can force your opponent, then you can negate that extra hammer. And if you can ever get a blank on your odd end, then you can negate the hammer. So there's a lot of gamesmanship here, trying to get yourself into the situation that puts you in the best shape to score an 8.
Yeah,
we can do 10-5.
Okay. 10-5. Okay, sounds good. That's true.
And that corner guard slipping into the rings, though, is going to be a bit of a hindrance to the BC squad. You always get a second chance to toss one up. This one will need to curl up to make contact, though.
We're sticking it clean.
Gets enough of it. Mission accomplished. They maybe would have liked to stick around there, but like you said, it is a kind of a freebie there for Alberta when that guard slides in. Really hard to get your end set up if you don't get those guards in place.
Well, lead rocks are just so important too at any level, but if you don't quite get those first 2 stones exactly where you need them, you know, you only get 8 rocks an end. That's not a lot. So if you are already down a rock or 2 from the start, it makes it that much more difficult to get what you need.
Okay, curl. Help him, Noah, help him.
This one looks like it's going to be in a pretty good spot.
Real nice.
Yeah, made the adjustment, took a little weight off, and put it into a pretty ideal position for a corner guard. A lot of times you see those curl way too far to the wings, and they're fairly useless out there. But that one covering kind of the middle of the edge of the 8-foot is about as far out as you really want those corners to go.
Well, an experienced call here by Alberta, basically calling to choke off this corner guard, drawn to the top of the 8-foot. Perfect spot is probably edge on edge with the guard. Comes with a little bit of risk though. If you're light, you give another corner guard to your opponent. If you're heavy, you give him something to freeze down onto, which might be worse.
Well, he's not light. This one's sliding deep for sure.
Don't want to set up a pocket here.
Okay, that's all right.
Fine. Heavy's okay.
It's full 8-foot shot.
Full 8, we're good.
Okay.
This is quarter inch and full 8.
Just 4.
Have a few options here. Ideally, you probably want to sink one right around the corner, but get a little bit wide, a little heavy. You can draw down to that red stone. Not something you necessarily want in your mind when you're throwing. You never want to, you know, tell yourself to throw to the backing. Try to make the shot that's called. Allow your sweepers to make that decision for you.
It's hot. T.
Okay, curl if we can. Yep. Hard, guys. Right here,
Line's
yep.
pretty good if the weight's coming off, and it looks like they're going to walk it right over. Need a little bit more weight.
Okay, good shot.
It's buried, but it is third shot.
Yeah, still plenty of time to deal with those reds at the back of the 8-foot though, so that'll be good enough for now.
We're shot 2.
I don't want them to rip it.
Give it, freeze it. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Like.
Just here.
9 feet, I think. 9 feet gives us some play. Okay. Similar to last. Some teams.
Oh, Preston's rock.
Close.
Where is it?
Come down.
Preston's rock. We're trying to lock it on here, guys. Preston hard. Make sure it's here, boys. Make sure it's here. Hard. Lock it on. Hard. Straight. Hard. So close. Great throw.
That's really good.
We're second.
Oh, shoot.
We're third.
Okay, I like going around again.
Yeah. Do you ever like this?
I like going to that, tapping them.
Right here.
Yeah, if you tap, it's real nice.
I'll give you a bit extra.
Great opportunity here for BC. Walk this
Let's just go right here.
right down to those back red stones, and suddenly you're playing with a little bit of fire if you're Alberta here in the 6th.
Yeah, the stag, it's a nice, they made a nice freeze with that red freeze, but it can work against them if BC is able to sink one in behind.
Hard line.
And starting to curl early. Want to get it by that one in the top 8-foot.
Hard, get it around. Really hard. Hard, go. Okay, whoa.
A little rub.
Not bad.
That's fine,
Little
Noah.
late finish there, kind of
That's good.
brought it back in front of those 2 reds.
Okay.
beneficial. Does leave space for Alberta to remove this Yellowstone and roll behind the corner. I think in an ideal world, you'd almost love to remove one of your red stones with it on the way by. That one that's right behind it as we look at it. If you could ever just clip that out of the way, it takes away a lot of room for BC to hide.
Yeah, it may sound counterintuitive, but those two reds at the back are actually hurting the red team. They're more useful to British Columbia than they are to Alberta. So if you can run that yellow, clip the red on the way by, and get the roll, that's your 10 out of 10 shot.
I mean, the line's pretty good if you clip that back when you're probably just getting a nice little flop in behind those staggered rocks.
Matthew, he's tight. Hard, Matthew.
Hard, Matthew.
Hard, Matthew.
Hard, Matthew.
Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew. Hard to stick. Hard to stick. Hard. Okay, that's all right. I don't mind that.
Just maybe got that one started a little bit. They were on it right out of his hand and removed the shot stone, but that backing is still there.
I like tapping that back one.
I like
It's a good result nonetheless, but BC has the exact same situation that they did before.
Or
this is okay.
No.
I like doing one more.
Yeah.
One or two. I'll give you a bit more.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Perfect tee is good. Small lad, fell up.
Wait only. Line's great. Close.
So just looking for T-line weight here.
Watch
Just
it.
straight draw
Yes.
in behind those staggered guards.
Yep.
Step hard, guys.
Yeah, sweepers, you're not too worried about hitting it. You can always slip a little bit back to those reds.
Hard line.
Have to get around it though, and those guards are coming up.
Whoa,
No
right
bounce.
there. Whoa, right there. Not bad, not bad.
There is a little bounce, but it's still kind of tough to remove without stuffing on those back reds. You almost just have to pick it clean.
Yeah, and that is the one benefit of that result is by making sure you remove the Yellowstone, you're probably losing the shooter. And in that case, BC will just have a third chance to play that same draw.
Yeah, board's good. I like it.
Yeah.
I think we got to go this way. Yeah, I like this.
Okay. Yeah, as long as I don't start it, it should be pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Board weight.
Hard then, hard.
Hard, boys.
Hard, Matthew.
Hard.
Hard, Matthew.
Hard, Matthew.
Okay, whoa. Hugo. Hard. Shoot. Sorry, guys, that's totally on me.
Yeah.
Just got a little mixed up with the line call there. We're sweeping to keep it straight the whole way down and actually kept it too straight and
Then they hit and roll.
gave a little gift there for BC, tucked them in behind the guards.
I mean, here, if we go here,
If you're here, it's
if we go
also
there,
real
he's
nice.
making a double.
Yeah, now that yellow is really hard to access
You like this?
for Alberta.
Like,
if you get just around that 5 right to here, it's real good if you're buried.
yeah, I mean, if you're here, they go here.
I think you can get buried,
To here?
right? Like,
Yeah, if we
here's
go,
real nice.
here's good, yeah. Because if he goes here, yeah, we just play it back line, just move stuff around. So perfect spots right here.
If we can't be racking. So if we're way wide, it's fine. We'll
Yeah.
curl.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
So what do we like? Right
Right
here?
here's perfect. Right here's perfect.
Okay, I think I take even more ice.
Yep. Like even here's okay.
Yup.
It's over curled the last few times.
So Spencer Rempel getting his second chance at this draw.
Same weight.
They're a little bit worried that if they go all the way back to those red stones, that Alberta will just follow them down and make a freeze. So ideally, I think they want to be just on the tee line. You could probably slip a rock or so behind as long as you get a good chunk of this stone buried.
A little more, Ad.
Brendan in.
Down.
Really needs to curl.
Yeah.
The line's all right. If you throw the right weight, as we keep saying, it'll curl.
Gotta go.
Hard, guys.
Hard, boys.
There it goes.
No in.
Hard.
Hard, guys.
Hard.
Gotta be here. Hard. Hard, guys. Really hard.
Oh, just needed to be
Okay.
a rock deeper, and that's perfect. But where it is trouble.
Yeah, and you're a little bit worried. Like I said, they didn't want to slip back to those reds, so you take a little bit off, but that's probably the worst spot you could have put it. Now it's a very easy nose double.
A5 is good, yeah.
Think so?
Yeah, just a hair.
Hit this anywhere on the high side of that yellow stone. Both yellows should go.
Okay.
That's all throw 8-5.
5 that you're on?
Yeah, 8-5 right there.
Okay.
If I flare that, I've been flaring that out turn so bad, I don't want to risk it. I like the 8-5. I'll even throw 8-5-8 because as long as we catch half that rock, both of them are getting out of there. Yeah, exactly. Yep. You got it. Even for 8-5. Just half a broom at more. Half a broom at more. Where are we at for time?
Make both of these yellow stones disappear and force BC to start all over again, trying to build up a multiple here in 6. This one curling, needing to hold it straight. They'll get one, get two. Very nicely done there by Austin Hennig, the skip for Team Alberta. And rolled to a spot that stays in the way for BC as we get another look at it.
Because I think if we can even do that.
Yeah.
Just control.
Control.
Yeah, that rock in the top of the 8-foot is something that Owen Yeager does not want to leave there. Gonna try and hit this redstone and roll behind those staggered corner guards.
If I hit it too thick, it might come off our yellow and really sneak it in. But we're just trying to hit like 3/4 to like 7/8. Control.
A very precise shot coming here. Need to hide this stone.
Slow. Curl.
Whoa.
Curl. Line.
Curl.
Curl. Hard.
Right to it.
No roll.
Oh, and maybe a little bit fortunate there to touch off the back side of that yellow stone and stick around for shot rock in the 8-foot.
Then he probably just hits back.
BC sits 1, but Alberta sitting 2, 3, and 4.
2, 3, 4. I think, can you see enough of this to pick it?
No, we're third.
It's up shooting this one. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Oh, this is
So big shot there for BC, Brian, as they make the hit and roll behind. Leaves, looks like just less than a half rock exposed. This is not the easiest pick in the world, and looks like the coach wants to say something about it.
Just knock that out and try and hold this as tight as we can to the middle. We just need to get that yellow rock out beyond these ones.
Yeah, okay.
You just need to get that yellow rock out beyond the other ones. So drop your weight down, keep yourself in the plane here, okay? If we have to, we can come off our red rock if it over curls, or it's on the back here. But if you throw that kind of weight, you miss it, you're screwed. Okay, so I would say take it probably, no, 8-5, 10-5. You want to stick it just on the center line, right? Or just inside it.
Okay, 10-5.
We want to hit it hard enough for the 10-5 that she gets her out, right?
Yeah.
But still stick around.
Go there, yeah?
I like that. Okay.
Okay. Okay, 10-5.
Okay.
Kind of like the idea there by the coach. Sounds like
10-5.
just wanted them to bring the weight down a little bit. It looked like they were just going to try and fire one down and pick it out. And when you do that, it's all up to the thrower to, you know, make sure you're perfect. By still throw enough to make sure the yellow goes, but you can take a little bit more ice, bring the weight down, gives your sweepers a chance to save you if you're a little bit off.
Yeah, it's very much an all or nothing shot if you're throwing it hard. It has to be pretty precise out of the hand. If you bring that weight down a little bit, like you said, sweepers can help control it a little bit. You have a little more wiggle room for the execution.
Big moment in this game, though.
Clean.
Hard, Matthew.
Clean. Curl. Curl. Roll. Clean. Straight.
Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew.
Roll. Curl. 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 Curl.
Curl, 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 curl.
Oh.
Got me in a bad spot, right?
Just missed, however, ended up with a nice result there. Frozen, and I think that red at the back is shot.
No, we're not one.
Yeah, that's the same spot that Alberta got caught on earlier in the end, I believe, where they were trying to hit a stone, thought they had more than enough of it, and then just sails it right by. You're just not seeing that little bit extra finish that they think is there in that specific spot on the sheet, but you're absolutely right. A great result is it frozen.
We get here for my drawing.
The line call that was yes, no, on, off, usually means you're pretty close. And based on that alone, I thought they were going to make it, but it just didn't come up that last inch.
For light and we draw, it's fine.
Yeah, just a heavy draw. Okay, let's make it. Confidence. Yeah.
Well, the call here, I think there is still a chance for two, Brian. You can come down. I think there's still enough curl that if you come down onto the red stones, you don't have to push it far to sit two. If your weight is really good, you get close to the yellow, you can probably get enough of that red to score two, but you definitely want to throw this in a way where you're always going to score your one.
Yeah.
Nice draw weight. Let your sweepers sweep it to give you those extra couple feet.
Really just need to move that red an inch, and I think you've got enough wiggle room off the second red. So, yeah, throw the draw, and if the line's good, just try to pound it that extra foot.
Hard! Hard! Hard, guys!
Curl! Curl!
Curl!
This one's definitely got the weight, but it has to curl quite a bit. And just a little bit extra weight, doesn't come up. Looks like a steal of one.
So take a look at it. I agree with you. I think it is red.
I just want to measure just in case.
We'll put a stick on it, but I think this might be a delay of game penalty.
I've called quite a few hopeful measures in my life. I know the feeling. Gives the umpires something to do, though. I'm sure they're not complaining too much about that. I was talking to one of them yesterday, and I asked him how he was doing out there, and first thing he said was, "It's cold."
Well, it certainly is. When I woke up this morning, it said minus 36 on my phone, and I think it got up to a balmy minus 25 this afternoon. So that's outside. The inside of the arena obviously not that cold, but it is still chilly out there.
I think we're heading somewhere closer to 0 degrees by the weekend, so that'll feel nice and balmy, I'm sure.
I was talking to my wife earlier today. I said, well, we're going to have a 40-degree improvement, and it's still going to be freezing.
So we'll take a look at the measurement here, starting with the red stone.
And just a little tick, maybe up to about 1 o'clock, maybe 1:30. And is right. Wow.
Wow, something think the overhead camera might be off. I don't know.
What do we know? That's why you measure, right, guys? It definitely looked red from where we were, but that's a surprise. So we have a tie game after 6, and we'll be back after the break for the 7th end.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
The Canadian curling trials. The thing we cried for, fought for, thrown 1,000 rocks for. The podium, just out of reach. But we can almost taste the gold medals in our teeth. Defiant, we take down giants. With nothing but the stones in our hands. And in the stands, they wait and see who among us will earn the right to wear the maple leaf.
Well, all you BC fans watching at home can tell me I told you so, because I got that one wrong all day. I apologize, but a point on the board where it looked very much like a steal, but it's a tie game with 2 ends to play, so right back on serve.
Well, I was right there with you, Brian, so I think we just have to blame the ice maker or something, have a conversation about where the overhead cameras are, but either way, sigh of relief for BC. Tie game here, 2 ends to play. Both teams should have 1 hammer, barring a blank, which that one slipping in will definitely hurt their chances a little bit, but still plenty to go. 1 hammer each. It's anyone's game here.
Yeah, if you're Alberta, I think you lick your lips a little bit here. Say, if without that guard up, it becomes a lot easier to blank this end and then take your hammer into the 8th.
9. It's close. Whoa. Whoa. Preston. Whoa. Hard Preston. Any roll.
Don't want to leave this on the center line. They will.
9:33. Good
Or
weight. Good
pretty close to, at the very least.
What do you guys like?
Center.
Tight.
Yeah, I like tight. Really like that.
Yeah, BC knows that they can't trade hits. It's not good for them at this point. They have to put a little pressure on even to force. That might be worst case. Potentially you give up 2, but you still have hammer in that last end, and you're still alive. But if you give up the easy blank here, that 8th end is really not going to go your way most of the time.
Well, it seems like they've gone into a little bit of autopilot calling this guard. That red stone in the top of the 12-foot, I think can actually be of use to you if you're BC. Don't necessarily need to place this guard on the center line if it's in front of that red stone. That red rock top 12 could be your second guard.
Cut. Right here. Cut. Can't be in. How was that in?
We're in.
Ugh.
It's
Looking for the guard, another one slips in, and that will really make it difficult to generate any sort of aggressiveness. Aggression, I suppose, is the word.
10-5 this time. We don't want to take it out.
10-5, okay. 10-5.
I'll get you a dictionary for Christmas. I'll put it on the list.
10, 9.
Matthew's wrong.
Aggressivity.
Good. Preston. Hard Preston. Get
Well,
over,
what's
get
really
over. Get over. Hard Preston.
a bit disappointing to see with those 2 lead stones is that both of them ended up in the exact same spot, not only in terms of weight, but also the line. So really not much of an adjustment made there. I think they could probably take a little bit of extra ice with those guards, but you heard the comment from from Brendan, like, how is that in? And sometimes when you throw the same path, especially multiple times in a row, it's not like you just throw that path and then the speed is exactly the same the next time. Usually when you're going down that same spot multiple times in a row, it tends to pick up. So I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe did take a couple feet off, but it just slides that couple feet better and ends up in the same spot.
It definitely fooled the sweepers on the second one. They were not too concerned with it right up until the very end, and it snuck in on them.
Yeah, not in. Just come around right to here. No.
For sure.
Just kind of throw the edger here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not close.
Little intrigued by this one.
Well, I started counting rocks because I thought I might have had it wrong. But no, 5 rocks have been thrown, so you definitely could peel that guard out. There's really no scenario where I think that guard is beneficial to you if you're Alberta. You get rid of that. Well, if you play the end out in your head, you peel the guard. If they keep trying to throw that guard back, you keep peeling. Eventually, then you probably have a blank in your hand, or if BC really tries to push the envelope and draw around something, you might have a chance for 2.
Yeah, I would have been peeling that guard all day, and I'm surprised that they did not follow suit, especially as they were so eager to hit the first 2 that were in the house. That guard falls right into the same category. I'm surprised they didn't do it one more time.
Wait, all day. Line's great.
Now the free chance for BC to get one hidden in there.
Yeah, unforced error firing that one through really did nothing to help your chances.
Guard's fine. Whoa, guard's fine. Here's good. Here's
guard.
good.
It's a guard.
Right here. Good shot, Noah.
Now we'll see. Just call the double peel or go around again.
I can just come here.
Neither's in.
No, neither of them are in.
Okay.
I mean, this one isn't. I still think the peel is the call. This one is now a little bit trickier with the placement of those yellow stones. They are angled towards that red in the ring, so I get maybe being a little bit more hesitant on throwing the peel now, but still think it's the call. Granted, if you do make a very good draw, it could set yourself up nicely.
Yeah, you can finish if you can. Finish if you can.
Yeah, scoring 2 here is good, but I just thought they had such an easy go for the blank that I would have taken the gimme.
Yeah, and I think when you're weighing those 2 options, for me personally, I like tied. Let's say the end goes well and they do get there too.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think tied with is a better situation to be in than up 2 without. If you start thinking about getting that 3rd point, okay, maybe then the scales shift the other way, but up 2 is probably on the precipice. You can play it either way. My preference is always to be tied with.
Wait, hold Lee.
Needs the curl. Whoa.
This is where the danger can begin for Alberta. If this BC shot ends up frozen on the button or it makes a little tap on the button, it really changes the complexion of this end.
Just curl. Cut.
Around.
Just a little too much weight, doesn't get the curl, and chips off. It's wide open.
I think so. It leaves them this hit and roll, but then we slash that into ours and it's
Not a bad result, though, Brian. That yellow sticking around it kind of takes away that other red stone in the top of the 8-foot from scoring for the moment. Coaxes Alberta to play this draw. At this point, whoever makes this draw first is going to be looking really good this end. But if Alberta doesn't, if they slip a little bit deep again, then you suddenly have a wall built.
So ideally, you don't want to add this to that wall, chip off or roll out or roll under, but you don't want to leave it in the pile if it's not going to be very good.
This one's looking like it's out there. Looks like it's going to slip back and make that wall.
Yeah, I know, but it's okay. Stick around. It's just
Probably still a little bit better than just drawing to that yellow stone. And you sit 3 now, but That's a pretty big miss in terms of weight if you're thinking of drawing the top of the 4 versus that was probably pretty close to hack.
Let's hit. Normal.
So they can get a roll off the side of this, basically into the side of the rock on the button. Probably, maybe don't take it all the way out, but you move it off the button and you sit fairly buried.
Curl. Curl. Hard curl. Curl. Hard. Really hard curl. Hard. Hard. Right to it. Great shot.
Pretty good result, but they would have liked to hit it a hair thinner to nudge that red a bit further.
Then just come in with hack. Push this back to here, and then sit here.
Okay. Yeah.
Back line up. Just a touch more than back line and making sure it gets out of the 8-foot.
Okay, yeah.
You like this?
Top of the 4-foot, top of the button, that's the spot that both teams are interested in. First rock to get there is going to be very happy with the setup.
Yeah, they're debating whether it's backline or hack. I kind of like the softer weight here to try to get that extra bit of curl. Line here is more important than the weight.
Yeah, less weight the better. Personally, I don't even think you need to move that yellow at all. If you could, even if you felt confident in it, if you could throw a draw right into that pocket, maybe move the yellow an inch is perfect, but it's more about getting your rock in a good spot.
This one is really tight. It's going to be all over those guards.
Hard to get the roll. Oh, okay. Hard to get the roll.
You'd hate to tap a yellow back.
Hard. Oh, shoot. Okay, that's all right.
Yeah, my bad.
Can you go through?
There's no hole.
Well, they answered the question before I asked it. I was going to say, is there did they open something up? But they said there is no room between those two yellows.
Yeah, I mean, if we force the
Well,
one,
with the
I'm
way
totally
things
fine.
look right now,
I like this. Because I don't think there's a draw this way.
I think the draw is there to get, like...
Yeah, if we know...
like pretend this is the last shot for Alberta. How do you score 2 right now?
I think we just throw normal here. Because I think if we know,
just outside
it might line it up.
There might be an in-turn tap around that guard with perfect weight, perfect line, but I'm not really seeing it.
And I just rolled in, right?
Yeah, the danger here for BC is if they don't hit this just right, they have a chance to open it up and make that that draw or another freeze a lot easier.
Anywhere close to nose or
we're thinking if we might nose
probably anywhere from nose to
even if we force here, it's still
sliver
really
inside is probably still good.
Even 2/3 inside, roll to the center line's okay.
You just don't want to get wide on it because that will make that draw easier. But that really hasn't been the problem most of the time. If anything, the trend is to be a little extra curl, not straight.
Hard line!
Yep.
And the early call on the line.
Hard!
Yep!
Real hard!
Yep!
Hard! Right to it!
Pretty close to the nose and staggers them, and that draw is now impossible.
Yeah.
Let's just face it. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Imaginary.
I think we can get here with back line, don't you?
Really no chance to steal here for BC, but a force is a very good situation.
Pushing it over onto that yellow and blowing the yellow over and meeting us sitting right there in the middle with the red and getting rid of that one as well. So you want to hit inside that yellow.
Okay. Oh,
inside this yellow, this 7 will
more.
probably stick here.
Even more inside if you can.
You have to hit it nose or else to get them both going, I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you
Coach,
wanna
I
hit
can't get to the
nose.
inside of this right now.
Yeah, okay, so we want to hit nose and then just, and if we can get that ricochet in, it'd be good. Let's get rid of those and leave our rock up there, okay?
But no, I'm never throwing that because if I'm a hair wide, we give him one.
Yeah, but I think it clears up a draw path because then you always have the draw this way. I think that's fine. Yeah, open it up.
Sure.
Okay. You want to throw
Just
9-5? You're thinking
9-5 right here. Do you think that back line's ever there on the other side? What was that? Yeah. Do you think that back line's ever there? No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So is the idea here, Brian, just to kind of open things up a little bit, make the double on these yellows, keep your redstone in a spot that maybe you'll be able to tap it up later?
I think that's what the call was. They looking for close to nose on the first yellow. Ideally, spill both of the yellows and leave the red there so you can tap it up if you need it.
At least keep in mind, too, I think there is a secondary option. If you get a little bit full here, I don't think there's space to run it onto the yellow, so you could take an aggressive crack at, like, doubling off the one that's off the side of the button.
Yeah, you're saying, talk about running the yellow onto the red on the button.
Yeah.
Would be supremely unlucky.
This one's definitely wide, so we'll see.
We're close to it. Oh, if that comes up a millimeter, you move that yellow.
Yeah. And if you made that double, it would have opened up a lot of space for you. But as things are right now.
Yeah, I don't hate that either.
I think this is going to be a classic risk versus reward question, Brian.
If you go that
right now, if you don't throw,
bury too.
how does Alberta score 2? I'm not sure they can. I don't think there's space anywhere. You could take on the aggressive call. We'll hear what Tyler has to say, their coach.
I think they might be able to tap this.
Sorry, what's that?
I think they might be able to get that.
They think they get it. Okay. So I'm okay with you playing this, right? It's tough to, even if you over curled it or something, it's not going to really hurt us. So I'm okay with you playing it if you guys feel it.
I feel it.
I like it with normal.
Normal.
Yeah. Like this.
Hey, where do you got to hit it?
Oh, and your last one was control.
Right here.
Yeah, I like it with normal.
A little tight.
So I just wanted to hear what they had to say on that, Brian. As I was saying, this is the much more aggressive call. You play this from, if you don't make this, you could very easily open it up for your opponent to score 2. But if you ever drill this run back and stick it on the top of the button, steal of 2 suddenly comes on the brain.
Yeah, definitely a risk reward here. It's great if you make it, but it doesn't take much to just miss it and really open the door for Alberta here. So looking for just nice normal weight, hitting a thick half.
Curl. Hard curl.
Yep.
Didn't overthrow it, but it seems to be sailing a little wide on him.
Hard line. Hard line.
Whoa.
That might be better than than missing it, just missing it.
Well, I was just about to say all credit to Spencer the Vice there. They started trying to curl it, trying to stick with the shot, but you could hear that late switch where he called the straight sweeper on. Wanted to just flash it completely rather than open up the chance for the draw for 2. Now, BC was pretty convinced that there is a shot here for 2 for Alberta with this in-turn draw tap. I think it might be, but boy, is this precise.
Yeah, you have to throw just back 4-foot weight and get pretty close to that guard. It's nice to know that you've got your 1 in hand, but don't necessarily want to be up 1 without coming home.
Okay, line's close. Got to curl then. Close. Clean. Curl.
Matthew, I think you gotta
clean.
go.
No, Matthew. Hard.
Matthew.
Hard,
Matthew,
Matthew.
hard. Hard, Matthew, hard.
Hard. Straight. Curl.
That's all right, guys.
Okay.
And it won't. It'll just move those stones out front, so it'll be a single point here for Alberta in the 7th end. They'll take a 1-point lead when we come back for the 8th.
Big finish coming up.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Eighth end just getting underway here, and it's a tie game between British Columbia and Alberta number 2. Really interesting end we just saw there. Could have gone either way a few times, and just somebody needed to make that one shot that basically never came.
Well, we talked about earlier in the end the decision by the Alberta team not to peel those center guards and instead try to sink a couple around. And I mean, you could see by the end of the end, those guards were still there, plus a couple more. Ended up escaping a little bit. They got their single, so they're up 1 without. This is the classic. You've talked about coaching before. I'm sure this is one we've all talked about 1,000 times. Would you rather be down 1 with or up 1 without? My preference is always towards the up 1 without, maybe in case, unless there's some sort of specific circumstances with how the ice is or something like that, but neither team can be too unhappy right now.
Yeah, this will just now be a battle of execution. You just got to go make the shots. It's I think I prefer to be on the other side of that. I'd rather be down 1 with. I want to have the game in my hand and see if I can't make 2. Worst case, give myself a shot at 1 and go to the extra if I have to.
Well, that's always the nice thing about it. Like, most of the time, unless you throw a rock away or you have a complete miss somewhere, most of the time there will be a shot for 2. How feasible it is and whether or not you want to take it on is another question, but if you put 8 good rocks together in the last end, you should always reasonably have a chance at scoring a deuce.
So BC starts with the corner. Now they're trying to put it to use. Try to sink one in behind.
I like it, ignoring those red stones in the top of the 12-foot.
Help! Tight! Help! Hardness there. Hardness there. Hardness there.
Great sweep, guys.
That's one I think I would have left short. If it wasn't going to be buried, I would have gotten off of that and hoped it stopped outside the rings, because Alberta will have the opportunity to take that out and potentially stick around for another point.
We're shot 2. We don't need to. Just right here.
Yep, I like it.
Choosing to ignore it and just throwing another one into the center, trying to junk up that middle and give themselves a chance to steal.
Yeah, a bit surprised when you look at those. It's always a question, especially in this situation, because you can't remove that rock, the corner guard, excuse me. It's always a question about whether or not you want to go for it. Usually comes down to how much you can see of that stone that's behind, and we could see from the front-facing camera that you could see it, I would say, close to 3/4 of that stone, which is usually more than enough to go after now. No complaints with that last rug. That is perfectly placed. So
all that being said, that's a perfect shot, and now BC's got to deal with that mess at the top of the house.
But a good double here by BC, and all of a sudden they have 2 stones in the rings. Neither of them counting quite yet, but that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, you just need those rocks to hang around long enough that you can make them count later on. You can get the double and roll here.
Nice one.
Again, not terrible. It wasn't quite ideal, but you kept your shooter around. You got one totally buried. You've opened it up a little bit. Like, a lot of good things came out of that, even though it wasn't the premier result.
Well, as Austin takes a little tumble there, but he gets up pretty quickly.
He's okay.
that's a very makeable half rock double on those red stones right now in the ring. So thought again, might see that they seem to sort of resort back to the draw, it seems, when they find themselves in an uncomfortable situation. I thought they might hit that open Yellowstone sit 3. That would be where I'd sort of lean to, but I don't think the guard is necessarily a bad call. This one slips in quite a bit deep, though.
Little technical timeout to do a little maintenance on the side boards there.
Yeah, there's just some foam coverings on the divider between the sheets here. I think when Austin took a little slip, he might have knocked one of it loose, so they reset it back into place. There's a couple doubles you can make here, Brian. There might be a triple, not sure if the angles work out, but I think you can either make the double on the red stones that are together. You probably lose your shooter, or ideally you can hit it super thin and make the double across the forefoot.
Yeah. I think you got to stay on this if you want the thin double. And now we're maybe playing the other one.
Good shot.
Just kind of caught in between there. But again, those yellows are just collecting, hanging around on the side. And
what I will say, though, the fact that red is still sitting 2 is a problem for them.
Yeah, and they're super spread out.
Well, that's the thing. You had a double before, and now you've basically given your opponents the chance to sit 2, and there is no makeable double on those red stones. So starting from the beginning again, you'll have to work your way back into a deuce here in the 8th.
Halfway through the end now, still 4 rocks from each team to come, so a lot of permutations still to play out.
And they keep trying to play these draws, Brian, and keep leaving these doubles. Eventually, you'd imagine they're going to make one.
Yeah.
And then you're in a lot of trouble. Looks like there's just enough space, I think, to hit this on the nose and make the straight back double.
Yeah, I think so. Nose does it, and again, you always have the option of the thin one on the other side if you happen to overcurl a little bit.
Curl. Curl. Yep. Hard curl.
Might be clipping the yellow first.
Yeah, don't want to touch your own. We'll remove a couple yellow stones and leave Alberta sitting 3. And now I like the draw. You're always in that, especially when you're in this situation up 1 without, you always want to do everything you can to avoid the 2. That's job number 1. But right now you're looking at a situation where, okay, we've kind of done that. There's still some time, but we've sort of in a safe spot where the 2 isn't really something we're worried about. Now you can flip on the switch, try to go for that steal and win the game right here.
Yeah, you're in great shape right now, so just step on the gas, see if you can't really put this one away. A couple of guards and make them somehow move 3 rocks so you can get a second point is a nice spot to be in.
What way do you want to roll? Forward? What way do you want to roll? What way? I like this.
Okay.
If you think you can get good, that's good.
If we want to roll that way, then control's good.
You like this?
Yeah.
Okay. Forward.
We can hear them loud and clear, but there is quite a bit of noise out there. One of the other game just finished. a couple sheets over, so the crowd was ringing their bells and clapping, so it is actually difficult to communicate.
Been some good crowds here so far this week. I'm sure it'll just get better as the week progresses and we get closer and closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, whatever weight you want to throw.
Even halfway is good.
Right? You could play this with back line if you want.
What weight do you want to throw?
I like board.
Board? Okay.
Okay, where do you put room for board?
Right here.
Oh, that's way too much.
Okay, right here then.
Is that too much?
This is control.
Okay, so okay, I like that. Just board. Okay, you may be left with that tap or the draw on the next one. So your next throw, if this doesn't work out, you're gonna have to do something over here so you have a shot for the tie.
Taking a look at the time clocks here for both teams. Team Alberta with just over 2 minutes left should be more than enough to throw their last 2 stones, and BC with just under 2:45 now as we're looking at it. No timeouts though, so you can't take too much time to make your decisions.
Looks like they settled on board weight, and I think they're trying to get the roll to the center line side now, which I agree is the right call. Just, if you can get one in there, it might give you a better chance at getting that second point.
Hard! Yeah! Whoa! Hard line! Hard!
Oh, just over curled it.
Yeah, and I think just maybe a little bit panicky on that line call. You've seen a lot. You see it a lot nowadays where, you know, you're either sweeping to make it straight or you're sweeping to make it curl. Sometimes a clean is just all you need. Just take a second, let the rock do what it naturally does, and get a good look at the line before you make any committal decisions.
I say that one all the time. It drives me crazy because how often you hear curl, 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 straight, 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 straight.
Yeah.
You know, if you just said nothing, you probably would have been pretty close. You just let that come up naturally. You don't have to make it curl. It was called curling a long time before directional sweeping came about.
Yeah. And especially on this ice, I really think you have to be careful with that curl call. We just see that, you know, we've seen it break so hard all game long that you just try to wait that extra little bit of a second before you commit to it. Otherwise, you get caught in a situation like that where you end up wrecking on a guard.
Because I think he threw it probably well enough to make it.
Oh, it looked,
if they just sweep it a little bit differently.
I think weight was perfect. I think that was absolutely a makeable shot.
Oh, we gotta be here. Okay, Matthews rock.
Austin Hennig really trying to twist the screws here to put the pressure on. This one's sliding a little bit deep.
I think it's heavy, but you can get something good out of it.
Okay, get the roll, get the roll, get the roll. Hard roll, hard roll. Okay, that's good.
Or that could be a little bit of trouble.
I think there's a hole, even if we come here.
You perfect freeze. Oh, and you perfect freeze this game.
Yeah. I think it's here.
You like this?
Right there. So just try and draw to it.
Okay. I like it. You got weight on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a lot of decision to be made there. The freeze is obviously the call. The only choice was whether you come with the in turn or the out turn. They are coming with the out through.
The slightest, it's okay.
Hole certainly big enough, but I think I might have come the other way.
Yeah. And I think, I'm trying to remember back, but I think they've thrown more of those in-turn draws a few more times, so you'd have a little bit of information to work off of. I know Alberta's thrown this out-turn coming home once or twice. Either way, a good chance here to ensure you're single and maybe set up for more.
Cut. Needs to curl.
Hard cut.
Needs to
Hard
curl.
cut. Hard.
Hard line.
Hard cut.
Line's getting pretty good. Just has to curl past this yellow. A little bit more. Oh, they get a little rub. Just probably a hair too much weight on that, maybe.
Okay, I'm gonna give you.
I got a minute
I'll give you here, Austin.
So not a lot of time. He's got about a minute 20, so you can see him making his way down to the other end already.
Nope, no, because this is his path to the button. Yep, this is his path to the button.
Not
He's got the pin on this
no,
side.
there is a double on the other side of the rings that BC could throw for
And if you get
one.
right on the pin, that's fine too.
He seems convinced that this out turn is the easiest shot. I guess he just threw it, so he probably has a good, he'll have a good shot at it, but neither of the shots are all that easy.
Right
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There is a double on the other side on those the two reds at the just behind the tee line, but
either way, I think if you put a rock on the pin here, it probably isn't a shot to score.
yeah, and you got to take one of them away. So he's, like you said, he didn't have a ton of time, so he made up his mind, and we'll just try to take away the easier draw and make him throw the double for one.
Line is okay, doesn't need to curl.
Freeze that yellow.
Okay. Again. Okay.
That's good. That's fine, guys. That was tolerance.
And I think that just took away enough of that out-turn draw.
Oh, and I think the 5's easier here. You can miss it by a lot and still make it. Like, you can hit it.
I don't know,
thin
this
or
one,
thick.
you can make it off the, you just got to hit it right in the pocket.
I like
Even if you
this
hit
is. Oh, and because you can hit it,
We're throwing this one.
Okay, this one's way longer.
Okay, let's play this one then. I think you got to throw peel.
Yeah, peel's fine. Normal's even fine.
I think I got to side with Spencer here.
You can make it off the 2, you can make it
I
off
do think the one in the 12-foot is the easier shot. You have a few ways to make it. You can run it directly into the one on the button. You can run it into the one on the left side of the 4-foot, roll into the button. I feel like this guard, it's make or miss.
I'm surprised that they haven't looked at the straight double, because
yeah,
it does look available just off the rock at the 3 o'clock position in the 4-foot.
Well, especially if you actually had to make the double, you'd be a bit more hesitant because you don't have a ton of space, but you only have to push that redstone on the button a foot or two to score your one. Very makeable.
And you can see from that look, there's definitely room to get to the inside of that, right between the crotch of those two reds. I feel like they're taking on a more difficult shot than they need to right now.
Yeah.
And this is just for the tie. Last shot of the 8th coming from BC.
Hard! Hard! Yep! Right up hard! Whoa! Whoa!
And right into the pocket.
One yellow.
Run double for a single. We're going to get some bonus curling. What a shot there for one. Stay tuned. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with the 9th and extra end right after this.
The Canadian curling trials. The thing we cried for, fought for, thrown 1,000 rocks for. The podium, just out of reach. But we can almost taste the gold medals in our teeth. Defiant, we take down giants with nothing but the stones in our hands. And in the stands, they wait and see who among us will earn the right to wear the maple leaf.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
An absolute pistol from Owen Yeager there. Run double to score one and tie this thing up. So we get a little bonus action here, a 9th end. Alberta 2 will hold the hammer in the extra.
Wait, hold late.
Good. Oh, it's tight.
Just the 2 guys.
Tight.
Yep.
Looks fine. Looks good.
Looks good, guys.
Looks good.
Easy.
2.
Gotta be on center.
3. 2, 3. Yeah.
Every other game on this draw has now finished. So if you're looking to see winners and losers, results, and an updated schedule for the rest of the week, visit curling.ca/scoreboard.
Yeah, great extra end just finished over on sheet 6 between the Yukon and Quebec. Looks like Quebec came out with the win.
Also an extra end.
Matthew's rock. Back 4. Matthew, curl if you can. Back 8, back 4.
So again, that first guard, I've seen this the last number of ends where Alberta has had the hammer. BC has tried to throw that out turn guard going away and over curled.
All the way back, all the way back.
Keep an eye on where their broom comes down if they end up throwing another one here. Yeah, that looks about the same ice as they did 2 ends ago. So maybe just not making an adjustment on the broom to make sure that that rock ends up on the center line.
Yeah, just the way it's curling, I think you need another 6 inches of ice at least. We have seen everything really dive towards the center. It's almost like the farther out you go, the harder it comes back in.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just so important to get those guards on the center line. I mean, at this age, we're probably not seeing too many called and made ticks. But if you think about if that's the guard you're going to use the rest of the end, the best you could ever do to hide a stone is side forefoot, which just gives your opponent the whole forefoot to draw to. Whereas if that rock is on the center line, you have the chance to hide one dead buried on the button or on the pin. And just gives you better chances to steal later on.
A little surprise there that BC didn't opt to throw another guard when they are absolutely in an all-out steal situation. You really have to take advantage of that free guard zone early on.
Yeah, that first rock by Alberta, not really in a great spot for them either on the T line. That's something that you can come down to, still tap back later. So I like your idea, toss up another guard, let them put one in there, move them around after.
Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew. Other side of center, Matthew. Hard, Matthew. Hard. Hard. Gotta get across center. Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew. Hard. Hard, 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 hard. Hard. 1081. 1081. Hard.
Hard out, hard out, hard out.
It's a good result there from Alberta's Hugo Chow. Got rid of the trouble rock behind the T line, got rid of the opponent's rock, and rolled open, so there's nothing to hide behind using that guard.
Do you not like hitting and rolling?
You gotta stick around. If you don't, it's real bad.
Okay.
Gotta score.
Yeah, definitely. You have to ignore that red stone as long as you can. Focus on getting one buried first, then try to improve the situation after.
Wait, close.
Make sure.
Wait's good.
Yep, curl. Really gotta curl here.
Wait's
Like we were saying before, you just want more rocks around so you have something to play with.
Curl, yep.
Curl, straight curl, nice.
Hard curl. Hard curl. Keep going. Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. Shot. Real nice.
Just board.
Nice weight, but didn't quite get buried. You can see almost all of that.
I think
no,
so.
Sit here. If you catch the goal, I'll tight ice you. Let's throw 10-5. I'll tight ice you. If you catch the guard, that's fine. Just 10-5.
Trying to nose the one in the house, but you heard him say, call it a little tight. If you take the guard, that's not bad either. Just get it out of the way. They're flirting with the guard, but I think they're by.
Gonna stay right there too. Now I think you might have to do something with those reds.
Yeah, I like that.
Just a little nudge, try to move them backwards.
Is there enough room?
Yeah, don't have to.
Just control.
Looks like they're gonna go with the hip.
That's a lot of ice.
Two interesting things with these calls. One is the weight choice. I'm with you. I think you could throw like a heavy draw, just sort of tap it back, build a wall that you might be able to freeze one onto later. A little surprised with the in-turn too. They've been throwing the out-turn most of the end.
Yeah, ideally, I think if you throw it softer, you build a little pocket back there, and eventually hope that you can sneak one in, but you don't want to be removing these rocks, especially around the button, because they're probably going to be your only friends later on.
Yeah, 9-5.
Yep.
9-5.
Line's good. Whoa, Hugo. Hugo's rock. Hugo. Hard you go. Hard you go.
Hard you go.
Hard you go.
Push.
Hard you go. Okay, you're good. Whoa, clean. You're good. Okay, that's all good. No worries.
So pretty good removes that yellow stone. Again, keeping rocks around, not very beneficial to
Little
Alberta.
less than Noah's, remember?
Noah's here. I'll give you here.
Okay.
Yeah, rolling out, not a big deal there. Probably almost better. I guess the best result would have been to hang on to the very edge as a biter just so you have a saver later on. But you do not want that rock hanging around the forefoot or anywhere near that guard because those are the ones that are going to cause problems.
Where? Okay, cut.
Hard cut.
Really got to curl.
Yeah, in this kind of a situation where, especially in an extra, you just need to score to steal. You really aren't ever flipping the switch and playing aggressively unless things are so good. You could toss up a guard with your last, make things difficult for the opposition, but as things are right now, just continue to remove yellow.
Just knock it out.
It's a pretty good draw there, though, by BC.
Well placed.
About maybe a quarter rock open, a third of a stone.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, chase with board, and if we hit the guard, that's fine.
Almost fully buried and right on the side of the button. Shot rock at the moment.
Yeah.
Even hack.
I'll throw between.
Line's good. Hugo. Whoa. Clean. Okay, Hugo a little. Hard you go.
Trying to get this by the guard, get the one in the rings. They will.
Nice scrub there from Hugo. Just sneaks it by.
Same thing.
Like this?
Yeah, I like that.
But again, we have that little bunch of rocks in the forefoot, and this time it sounds like they're considering a softer weight shot.
I just threw that weight.
Well, now, yeah, there's very nice pocket there to hide one.
Yeah, you could. You rub off this a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, right here.
I think I like just the straight draw. You could play the hit and roll off the wide one onto the one in the button. I think that would do some good for you, but that feels a little bit tougher than it needs to be to make a perfect roll. Just sink a draw somewhere in between those two red stones, and I think you're pretty happy.
Yep.
Line's
good. Bend it in. Line's great.
Yep.
Hard. Real hard. Really hard.
Line's pretty close. They have to get it there.
No bounce.
Oh, it looks like we're losing the line. Just going to cross a bit. Weight was perfect. Just maybe needed to get out to the broom a little bit or a hair more ice. But at least the right idea with the call. You need to take advantage of the rocks that are there.
You like 10-5? Yeah. 10-5. And I'll tight ice you again. If you catch the guard, it's not the end of the world.
Just hit it. Guard doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, you got it.
Final stone here for Preston. I think just make sure you get the yellow, but the more rocks you can get moving here, the better.
Hugo.
Yeah, make sure the yellow goes and try to kick that second red a little wider if you can. Or lose the back one. That's pretty good too.
That's a very good shot.
That's true.
When our time's going, let's just throw.
Oh, yeah.
When our time's going, let's throw.
Just debating whether a rock is still in play back there. Quick official's timeout, but
something tells me that rock in the back corner of the sheet isn't going to make much of a difference in this one.
That's just there to trip on later.
Then you've always got the
So
hit
2
and
rocks
roll
each to come,
off of this one.
about with
if they
both teams with
guard it or
2.5
something
minutes
like
to go.
I don't mind tapping it back behind the tee line either.
I really like freezing.
I like the freeze, but the option here, tapping it a foot, is really good, right?
So we don't want to be light here.
Yeah.
Noah, tapping it a foot is really good. You got to let him know, though, so he knows the line.
Yep. got to be there.
So just looking to tap this center line red, just back a foot. Keep your shooter right in front of it.
Chances are you'll see Alberta run down and try to peel it out, but then at least you'd have something to freeze to with your last.
Whoa.
Cut.
Okay. Hard cut. Hard
Yeah.
cut. Hard.
Gotta go. Get over to center.
Hard. Get it on center.
Gotta go.
Noah trying to carve it over. Just not quite enough. And it hangs on the back line.
I think just too much weight there. If you're just trying to tap that to the back of the button, back a foot, you're looking for more like back 4, back 8 weight at the most.
He's got to make a draw and freeze in
He's
here
got
or
to probably
something.
hit and roll, and then I have the nose hit for the win. Like, literally hit it anyway.
And I think that's fine.
I like it, yeah, right? So I don't see any other good option for him. No. Throw the intern peel.
I think I like this call, Brian.
Yeah, just the way those two reds are situated in the 4 foot, it's tough to freeze or tap and not have an easy option to remove it. So that was their conversation. I agree.
Yeah, I think your best option, like you rip this,
We got time. 2 minutes.
there's a double on the reds, but that would just leave a nose hit for the win. Like, there's nothing where you don't just have a wide open nose hit for the win.
And at the same time, I don't know that the guard's not hurting you that much, but I think there is a world where they hit and roll off the outside red, get in behind the guard.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, they're playing this wide.
They're trying to
130, guys. I think you go.
Oh, no, they
we'll
have
talk.
one more rock.
You go, we talk.
I think I like right here, coach. We got 130.
Right onto the side of
And just
our,
right-
our bars there.
Right here.
He tries to do the hit.
I like it. Okay, yeah, I like it.
They have one rock left. How do they
Okay,
use it?
yeah,
I'm not a big fan of this, Brian. This feels like, you're right, the guard isn't really an issue, so like peeling it,
Yeah.
whatever. I think it's pretty good, but it doesn't necessarily change the situation all that much. I think the only way you hurt yourself is by trying a draw, and if you ever slip a little bit deep. But even if you're light on this, if you throw a tight guard, that's just something that BC could hide behind. If you put it top 8, it's great, but anywhere else and you're flirting with giving a chance.
yeah, I'm kind of split on this one. I didn't mind the peel the guard. I don't mind this call if you make it.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's a little risk to give BC a little bit of hope.
And their call, the sweepers seem to think it's a little bit heavy.
You can curl.
Hard, Matthew. Hard, Matthew. Hard.
Curl.
Okay, that's all right. It's not bad.
Okay, that actually ended up okay, but that could have been, if that curls up another half rock, ticks and rolls to the back of the button, that could have been very dangerous.
Yeah.
If you roll under here,
So a minute 40 still left on the clock.
At least roll under here. Yeah.
BC trying to figure out a way to get
I like
a
this.
yellow in there and somehow protect it.
if you go here,
You can't use the backing because they won't be shot.
you can't really get in, actually. There's no way to get in.
I think your best chance here, Brian, might be to make the double
I think you gotta play
off of the red stone on near the center line into the one they just threw.
And then try to spill it straight back.
Yeah, if you hit it perfect, you might be able to spill back to get
think
close
you
to a
gotta play
freeze
this-
on the back one. But even if you make the double and you stick it right there,
And he's gotta run.
the 2 feet of separation, you're in front of a little bit of the back red. You never know.
The other option that I see is, it's difficult, but you try to just play kind of a heavy draw off the
Okay, real skinny.
front right red as we're talking. Just try to get a chip under the other red, and if you can get it, just hit it thin enough and hang it off the other side of the button, that might be your best bet, but it's not easy. It's very precise.
Could you ever play like a just through or light hack weight, hit the red on the center, like just push it out of the 4 foot and roll in,
flop between the two
like
reds?
roll in between the 2 reds, yeah.
I think you could.
Well, with that broom, I think they could be throwing at either one of the reds. We'll see exactly what the call was here in a second.
With 6 seconds left on the clock. Used every minute they had.
Curl. Whoa. Yes. Curl. Hard.
Looks like he's trying to play the flat double, but not going to get enough of it. Through the hole, it is 2 on the board without throwing the last one. So Alberta 2 takes the win 7-5 over British Columbia. Thanks for joining us here. We'll be back at 8:30 tonight, I think.
Yes.
Look it up.
Yep.
8:30. So we'll be back on. Join us then for another game. Thanks to IKS Live for the production, and we will see you soon.